interesting, and
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to learning a lot from Dr. Bose.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for 5 minutes, Bose. You don't mind? We'll wait for 5 minutes or so before we start. Dr. Bose, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better. I think we should wait.
Hello? There's some problem with the audio from Bose end. Hello, Dr.
Maybe
Bose?
the headphone is not well adjusted or something, compatibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Bose?
Probably he's
Can you
changing it
unmute
also.
yourself? Can you unmute yourself, Dr. Bose, please?
Not able to hear you at all.
You can't hear me? Dr. Munkaji, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know why Bose is not able to hear me. Dr. Bose?
Probably his headphone is to be adjusted or changed, that may be the problem. Dr. Bose, can you hear
You
me?
can all hear, is it? Oh dear, what happened to this one?
We can hear you, Dr. Bose.
Dr. Bose, please unmute yourself. Hello? Dr. Bose?
Janaki?
Not able to hear anything.
Yeah, I'm able to hear Bose now. Janaki, I am Anandi Lakshmanan.
Hello, Dr. Anandi. Madam, why Bose is not able to hear?
I just heard Bose now.
No, but he is not able to hear us. That is the problem.
Okay.
Probably issue with his headphone or what? He changed couple of times.
I think he's
Not able to
using the
hear
internet
anything.
audio.
Not able to hear anything.
He is not able to hear. Can you adjust your audio, Dr.
Yeah. Whether you're using the internet audio or the system audio.
Harsha, can you help? Harsha, I'll give you Bose's number.
I disconnected the headphone.
Hi. Harsha.
Increase the volume also.
Hey.
Video is fine. Okay, others are able to hear me, but why is
Harsha, I've shared Dr. Bose's number. Just call him and
Okay, sir.
I've shared his number to you.
Okay, sir.
Hi. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes. Who is it?
Hi. Hi, Janaki.
Hello, Bose, huh?
Hi, Srini.
Hey, Srini, Bose is having a problem with
Am I audible?
I'm not able to hear that also. No, it's not because of that.
Hi, boss. Hi, boss.
No, Bose is not able to hear us. That is the problem.
Hi, Janaki. Hi, Bose.
Hi, boss.
Hello, Bose.
It says, Johnny, the host has muted me.
Host has muted you.
That's what it says in my computer, yeah.
Hi, boss. Hi,
Harsha.
Janaki.
No, sir. I have not muted him, sir.
No, we have not muted you. Bose, we have not muted you, Bose.
Yeah, okay. Then I will log off and log in again. Okay.
Sir, we can hear your voice, sir. You can
Actually,
go ahead.
Bose, we can hear you. The thing is that you are not able to hear us. So,
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Maybe speaker setting
Able
is
to hear,
not.
boss. Hi.
can you log out and log in again, please?
I will do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Please, yeah. Thank you. All right, Dr. Srini, how are you?
Hi, fine, Janaki. How are you?
It's a great thing meeting all our friends. Huh?
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Janaki.
Wow.
Hi, Ashok.
Ashok, how are you? Wow. It's turning a global platform actually. Wow.
Yes, yes. Indonesia is in.
Really great meeting you, man.
Thank
So
you.
your batch get together,
Oh,
Dr. Janki, Dr. Ahila, is it like a batch get together of your batch?
Batch meet.
Yeah, looks like.
Looks
And
like.
some of the intruders like us, you know.
Majority.
The aim was to classify the arterial retraction pockets precisely.
Ashok and,
Yes.
I will tell you in the
So,
upcoming slides. So
yeah, we are ready. We are ready for the meeting.
in this
Speaker.
study, we have
ready,
identified
Mr. Bose is not ready,
1
CD.
selected patients with different grades of arterial
Harsha, mute your audio, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Harsha, mute your audio.
Done.
Harsha.
I've done.
Yeah, because I can hear retraction pockets from your side.
Yeah.
He is managing 3 or 4 webinars at the same time, you know, Dr. Prakashji.
Yeah, I can make out.
Yeah.
And he keeps a tab of everyone because every participant has to register, you know. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing, you know.
Bose has come back. So can you unmute Bose? Harsha.
Yes, sir. I'm working on it.
So we have a lot of luminaries here, eminent personalities. Yeah, Bose is now there. Yeah, he's unmuted. Yes, Bose, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now, Janaki. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Wow,
good.
that's very good. So here we go. So I think we are right on time. So I'm thankful to God for, making this happen. First of all, let us get started. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So welcome everybody to this wonderful webinar. And this is one of the most expected and wanted topic in the days of COVID and also in normal days as well for doctors. And what are the eating habits, how we have to change our eating habits, how to maintain our fitness is what Dr. Vijay C. Bose is going to talk about. And let me introduce Dr. Bose very shortly. I'm going to share my screen. Harsha, I have to share my screen, my dear friend. You made me. Hello, Harsha. Harsha. Hello. Harsha. Okay. Now, let me introduce Dr. Bose to you all. Dr. Vijay C. Bose presently works as Joint Director and Consultant Joint Reconstructive Surgeon at Asian Joint Reconstruction Institute, located in SIMS, Vadaparani, Chennai, and provides a referral-based service for complex hip, knee, and shoulder problems. He has a special interest in arthroplasty of the young patient and has keen focus on hip resurfacing and partial knee replacements. He has delivered numerous guest lectures in various international conferences all over the world and performed over more than 80 live surgical demonstration hip, knee, and shoulder replacement all over Asia. He has the experience of doing more than 2,000 hip resurfacings, which is the largest in Asia and the 5th largest in the world. He has also done extensive work in the treatment of avascular necrosis of hip and acetabular component positioning, which is published.
Janaki, I think that's enough about orthopedics. I think we'll go on.
No. I have to talk because there are so many ENT surgeons who really do not know what you are all about. So I have to talk about this. So he was invited visiting faculty for the annual meeting of Australian Orthopedics Association for the year 2010, South African Orthopedic Association 2011, American Association of Orthopedic Surgeons in 2017. He's developed many innovative surgical techniques in the science of arthroplasty, which are used by surgeons all over the world. He served as president of IAA, Indian Arthroplasty Association, during 2018-19. And okay, fine. So those of you who want to contact him, he's available on 98400322251. Okay. Now that is actually a formal way to introduce my friend, Dr. Vijay C. Bose. But then I would like to introduce him on a very personal note. On a personal note, Dr. Bose and me are classmates, and we have a number of our batchmates here watching and eagerly waiting for Dr. Bose. And the reason why I chose this topic, why is this topic very important? The topic actually is very important because many of us as doctors do not spend much of our time for fitness, both for physical as well as mental, as well as the eating habits. So I thought, let us do a webinar with one of the doyens who is actually, put his heart and soul into this field, who is related to this field as well. And so, in fact, we did a small webinar with one of my fellows called Kumar Gaurav from Lucknow. But what happened was Dr. Vijay C. Bose chipped in and he gave very valuable inputs, which were very much appreciated by the audience. And so I decided we'll do a webinar primarily with Dr. Bose. And here we are. Without much ado, we'll directly go on to Dr. Bose's webinar. And after the webinar, we are looking forward to a lot of interaction. And this webinar may extend till around 10 o'clock or so. We will see. So over to you, Dr. Bose. The guys are all yours.
Yeah, thanks so much, Janaki. So Janaki and me joined MMC and a lot of our batchmates here in '84. It's been a long journey for us. He's been a very close friend over the years. You wouldn't believe Janaki when he joined. He used to be so quiet in class. We hardly got to know him till third year, and then of course there was a metamorphosis, and now we know where he stands today. Yeah. So thanks, Janaki, for inviting. So we will get on to the topic. My host has disabled my screen sharing. Can you enable that, please?
Chaitra, Sri Arsha. Arsha is actually managing too many webinars.
No, sir, I'm here, sir.
Yeah, so you have to
Enable my screen sharing, please.
Post screen sharing, please.
1 minute, sir. I'll just. Yes, sir. Now you can start.
Right, okay. Right, okay. So you can all see my slides, yeah?
Absolutely.
So it comes in 3 parts, yeah, this talk usually. So the first part is about scientific base of diet intervention. So the Janaki was mentioning about that webinar that we had the other day, and somebody was saying that it's so difficult to get over obesity. I really think it's not so. Now, whenever you have an enemy, whenever you have, say, for example, you have a boxing match, the best way to win is to know all about him. Once you know all about him, then it's easy to win over anything. So once you know about the scientific base of diet and diet intervention, there's no person who cannot win over obesity or lifestyle diseases. So today we are in 2020 and we are in an era of information overload. We have, you all went to different undergrad and postgrad. And finally, we all ended up with WhatsApp University. Whether you like it or not, we are all, graduates of WhatsApp University now. And the problem with something like WhatsApp is that many things are vested in interest, bias, diametrically opposing sponsored studies are there. So if you just look at the web and think that you can learn on a topic like this, you'd be mistaken because there's so many conflicting viewpoints. So whenever you have information, there's always a spectrum. At one end of the information spectrum, you have gossip. And the other end, you have actual info. So the most useful kind of information is one that is actionable. And I hope today that you will all get some actionable info. So as any talk, these days we have to state our disclosures. I have no disclosures for this topic. So we all know that you are what you eat. And we all take a Hippocratic oath when we finish medicine. And Hippocrates said a long time ago, our food should be our medicine and our medicine should be our food. So Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, who is now a very influential person, also says there's a lot of relation between the food and the body. Now, the first question you have to ask yourself, is the world's population healthy or unhealthy? Now, this is from Lancet. Lancet was a reputed journal till a couple of weeks ago.
English में है, लेकिन तुम्हारे लायक टॉपिक है, खाने उने के बारे में पूछ रहा है.
Yeah, so this article says over 95% of the
खाने
world's
के बारे में
population
आदमी को क्या खाना चाहिए, नहीं खाना चाहिए, overweight के लिए क्या क्या.
there's somebody talking on the.
Sir, can you mute everybody, please? Can you mute everybody except Dr. Bose, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the article says 95% of the world's population has health problems, and over a third, That's a really stunning statistics. Have more than 5 health ailments. So we know that 2020 the whole population of the world is basically unhealthy. Now the so-called lifestyle diseases, ischemic heart disease, you take diabetes, you take worldwide, that's a huge increase. But in India, it's really an epidemic. So nowhere else the incidence is so high as in India these days. And if you look at the diabetic perspective in India, I mentioned this in the other webinar, it's really shocking, you know, because 50 years ago, 1 in 400 was diabetic. Now 1 in 4 is diabetic. So we have had an increase of 100-time increase in diabetes in our population. That's truly shocking indeed. Now our ancestors have been healthy 50, 60 years ago, as this graph shows. And if you look at the obesity, we have always not been obese and unhealthy. So if you take something like 1980, we're reasonably okay. And whether you take children or men or women, or if you take the incidence of obesity in 1975, it was only 3.2. Now it's closer to 20. So obesity has been really a pandemic. But again, our ancestors were not so unhealthy. So as as it is a universal phenomenon all over the world, most likely culprit is likely to be the diet. That's common sense. So if you look at the cause of death today, over 50% of deaths is because of obesity and lifestyle diseases. That's again a shocking statistics. We're all probably going to die of this. So the question I'd ask today is that, why do we land here? What really made us land here? So I'll make it interesting, little anecdotes. The story starts here. 1955, Dwight Eisenhower. I'm sure you all know him. He was the American president just after the World War II. He was the supreme commander of the Allied forces. And he used his popularity as the commander to become president soon after. So in 1955, he had a heart attack. Now, if you look at the US, they had this era of mass production, 20s and 30s, they're moving into mass, agriculture, etc. And Dwight Eisenhower has a heart attack in 1955. So that made the Americans wonder that there's something wrong they're doing with their diet. So I'm sure many of you do not know Ansel Keys. All of you, I'm sure, know Adolf Hitler. Now, Ansel Keys has killed 1 million times people as Adolf Hitler, actually. So this is Ansel Keys. He's not even a doctor. He's only a PhD in oceanography. And then he did a study which he called as the 7-country study to formulate, after Dwight Eisenhower's heart attack, for the American population, he wanted to formulate an ideal diet. So he went to different countries around the world and he took some readings of their, etc., blood pressure, EKG, etc. And then he came up with this graph. He called it the 7-country study in 1970. So he found out that Japan was the most healthy country, US was the most unhealthy country, and in between England, everywhere on his graph. And he found out the dietary factor that was causing the problem, he said, was saturated fat. And so the saturated fat, he thought, was the villain that's causing all the unhealthy things. Now, however, now we know that Keys actually faked the study. So actually he went to not to 7 countries, but 23 countries. And his graph actually was a straight line like this, horizontal line. But then he wanted to prove his hypothesis. So he, selective bias or bias in selection, he just plotted the countries which suited his theory. And then he put Japan and US and he said saturated fats were the problem why, Americans were getting unhealthy those days. Incidentally, Indians were actually very healthy at that time. So the original US, food pyramid was like this. They said, according to this this concept, the recommendation was universally must eat a lot of carbohydrates, bread, pasta, rice, and eat very little of fat, saturated fats. And even till date, this is what is universally followed around the world. And whatever the US does, the rest of the world follows blindly. So we all followed it. And actually, our fat consumption was very, very low compared to Western diets. But we still decided, and all our cardiologists and general medicine people told us, cut fats. So we started cutting our fats. Now, this guy was Ansel Keys, a very influential guy. So the American Heart Association and the National Dietary Association, all of them followed whatever he says. And this, of course, now we call as eminence-based medicine. When somebody eminent says something, we follow it rather than evidence-based. And so the entire fraternity of science was led along this path that fat was bad and you must avoid fat and you must all eat carbohydrates. So the same thing, because the US followed, everybody followed. And even today, cardiologists and everybody advised this to us, that that saturated fats are bad. And this is the classical fat diet hypothesis. So we said that if you eat a dietary fat, saturated fat, you'll increase your serum cholesterol, and therefore you'll have atherosclerotic plaques in your coronary arteries, will cause narrowing, and you'll have a heart attack. So what to do about it? You must replace the saturated fat with unsaturated fats. That's basically vegetable oils like sunflower oil, etc. And that will reduce your serum cholesterol, and therefore you won't have coronary heart disease events and deaths. And therefore, the Time carried those days a cover story saying cholesterol is very bad for you, and eating fat is bad. So the whole revolution or the bandwagon of fat-free and low-fat started. Now, there's not everybody. I didn't agree to that, and the most notable person was Atkins. I'm sure you all heard of Atkins. Atkins was the one who said, actually, low carb. Your diet must be low carb. But he was sort of against the management those days. And a lot of people who are pro sort of establishment, and the most renowned them was Dr. Dean Ornish. I'm sure you all heard of him. Now, he said you must all have a low-fat diet. And there actually was a TV debate between these two, and there's no doubt as to who the winner was. The winner was Dean Ornish. So everybody believed that you must go low-fat. The whole world started going low-fat and high-carb. And he was featured in the cover of the Newsweek as a big celebrity. Now, once the vilifying of saturated fat started, we started modifying our food because we said fat is bad. So something like butter or something which is natural, we started making unnatural things. So we started making oils from so-called cardiac healthy oils, just basically sunflower oil and things like that. Now remember that sunflower doesn't have any natural oil. If you squeeze sunflower, you will not get any oil. So you'll get oil only when you treat it chemically, because they are so-called unsaturated or heart healthy. And even today, if you go to the supermarket, everybody buys so-called heart healthy oils, which is these oils. They're all not natural oils. They're all artificial because they are treated here. So if you look at this chart, canola oil, sunflower is so-called heart healthy, and the percentage of saturated fat is very low. Coconut oil has the highest, and this is deemed to be the worst oil, and everything else in between. Now, so there's advisory worldwide to replace saturated fat with unsaturated oil. But the problem with unsaturated oil was that it spoiled quickly, so they had to hydrogenate it. Now, once you hydrogenate it, you get a new molecule now. This is known as trans fat. Now, when you reheat oil, especially these vegetable oils, the trans fat goes tremendously high. And that is the origin of artificial trans fat. And trans fat, now we know, is the most toxic to the coronaries, absolutely toxic to the coronaries. That is now established. And it's only in 2018 that some legislation has come against trans fat. So till this time, we were all led on the wrong path, and we went along the wrong direction at all. So which are the foods are rich in trans fat? The same old things, your junk food and all these things which are really artificial forms of food, non-natural foods, they're all rich in trans fat. And any hotel that you go, especially in India, you go, they'll be reheating oils and they'll load you with trans fats. And very surprisingly, all fast food chains till today, they all still use only vegetable oil till date. That's really shocking. Now, because we want to remove fat, what did we do? We started advisory to start refining our food. So we said, okay, let's refine all the food. So we removed the fat and fiber. That's what we mean by refining the food. So the polished grain became very polished rice we started eating. Our oils all became unsaturated. We started going sunflower, corn oil. They're all not natural oils. Only natural oils will have cold pressed oils. If you just press them, you'll get oil. These are all non-natural. And even meats, surprisingly, they start getting processing. So everything you start processing, you are causing a lot of chemical changes in them. And probably they're all causing very deleterious changes. But however, this fat-free, this bandwagon is still present till date. And I'm sure a lot of you still think that, that you have to go fat-free and low-fat. Because even a supermarket, we still have low-fat substances as well as non-fat products. So the global health strategy over the last 30-40 years has been what the cardiologists and our medical people tell us. You must eat fat-free or low-fat. You must eat less. That's what they told us. And then you must move more. And you must do some exercises. And then you must reduce the portion sizes. Eat a small portion at regular intervals so that you don't eat any large meal. And then you must have a calorie deficit. So what you burn must be more than what you eat. That's what that is. It's all good advice. However, you must ask yourself, has it been working all these decades? The answer is a big no. Actually, the reverse has been occurring. We just saw that the population worldwide, in spite of all these advices, has been sinking into obesity and chronic sickness. So certainly, it is not this has not been working. So, however, if we see lifestyle diseases, now we find has been increasing. Of course, diabetes, coronary artery disease, all be increasing. But more and more, we are finding more lifestyle diseases. Fatty liver, for example, polycystic ovarian disease, cancer. Now we know the lifestyle disease, stroke. Lifestyle component to it, cardiovascular, depression, musculoskeletal pains, fibromyalgia. So this, all that we have done is our lifestyle diseases. The list has been increasing, and we find that more and more lifestyle factors are altering all these diseases. Now, there's a very, we all think that the 21st century, that we all have newer molecules and we can solve all these problems by popping these tablets. Now, there's one message that I want to give you, and you go home with this one message, that's for me. So all our doctors, our specialists are all looking at this. Instead of looking at the lifestyle, I'm not sure there are any lifestyle ENT diseases, but I'm sure there is. So the diabetologist is giving you anti-diabetic medicine and insulin. The hepatologist is treating your fatty liver. The cardiologist is giving you statins. The neurologist is giving you, neurology medicines for your depression and your Alzheimer's. The psychiatrist is giving you antipsychotic drugs. But nobody is going to the root of the problem, which is your metabolic problem. And as orthopedic surgeons, we are looking at the knee and saying, oh, your knee is arthritic and we're going to do a knee replacement. So none of us are looking at the real elephant which is inside the room. So one message for you today is that you want to go home. I'll be happy if you take this message. A lifestyle disease cannot be treated by taking medicines. If you go home with this one message, Jani Ram and me will be very happy. A lifestyle disease cannot be treated by medicines. Full stop. So it's time for a really radical rethink to combat obesity, because all these advice that we have been giving our patients and ourselves and our family and our relatives have not been working. So you need to have a rethink about it. So what really triggered this new thinking was, I'm sure in ENT also you have come across this problem. We come across this problem very frequently in orthopedics. An obese patient will come to the clinic and they'll have knee pains, obesity and all that. And we always have to do markers of malnutrition in all patients as a routine, so that their wound healing problems are all won't there. I'm sure you're doing that in ENT as well. So the markers of malnutrition are albumin, total lymphocyte count at a transferrin level. Now, surprisingly, in many obese patients, especially the people who have a big pot belly, they'll find that they are malnutrition. And you tell the patient, because a very obese patient comes to you and you say you are actually in malnutrition, he laughs at you. More commonly, the wife is like that and the husband will laugh. I said, doctor, what are you saying? This patient is malnutrition, he's so obese. But actually that's true. The malnutrition parameters are actually low. So how do you explain this? That in lies the key to solving the obesity problem. So this is the new model of obesity. This we call as the insulin model, or beyond calories in and calories out. This is not new. It came into vogue in about 2012, 2013, but now it's getting mainstream. And I don't want any of you to miss this critical concept. Yeah. Model of obesity is the insulin or a hormonal model, and it's beyond calories in and calories out. That is the traditional model. So there are many people who are great advocates. They speak all over the world. Some of the more prominent ones are Nadir Ali. Nadir Ali passed out from Malnda Institute in Delhi. He is the professor of cardiology in Houston, and he talks a lot on that. Peter Bruckner from Australia talks a lot on that. Probably the most well-known figure is Jason Fung, who talks about this. And then there's Mark Hyman, who talks a lot about, all our medical doctors. All are medical, they've gone through medical school, and they are not just people who talk of their hats. And this is Nina Teikholz, a dietitian who has done a lot on that. And then we have a journalist by name Gary Chobis, who's done a lot on that as well. But the real sort of the game changer was this book. This is called as Good Calories and Bad Calories. This book really was a revolution which changed all our concepts. So what is good calories and bad calories? As you know, we have three macronutrients: carbs, proteins, and fats. Now our body needs all these three. There's no question about that. There are some functions of the body which can be done only by carbs. 30% of the brain, RBC, renal medulla. There are some which needs fats. Transport of fat soluble vitamins. The cholesterol is important in the cell membrane, essential fatty acids, etc. So all three are important. There's no question about that. So we can't say carbs are bad, fats are bad. However, when the proportion is wrong, then the body pays a heavy price, seriously heavy price. So we all are used to thinking that carbs is for energy, and we eat carbs, we'll burn it off as energy. And we eat fat, we'll put it on our abdomen and develop a big belly. However, that's not true. Carbs raises the blood glucose and stimulate insulin the most of the 3 macronutrients. Protein does not increase blood sugar, but it stimulates insulin. Fat does not raise glucose or insulin. So the most favorable molecule that you can have for anti-fat would be fat. It's a pity that we call this molecule as fat. So every one of us thinks that fat makes you fat. That's because we call this molecule as fat. That's just quite the opposite. So the real point is 100 calories of cookies are far more fattening than 100 calories of coconut. That's the fundamental point. So it's actually quite the reverse. What is fattening? Carbs is fattening, and the fats are not fattening. So this is the insulin model of, so if you keep on eating, the insulin is, remember, is an energy saving hormone. Now insulin resistance is the key towards obesity. And that's what we want you to go home with. Insulin resistance is the key thing. So if we keep on eating carbs that we all do in India, we have a high sugar level, therefore a chronically high insulin level. Because we have a chronically high insulin level, we, whenever something is chronically high, we develop resistance. So we have insulin resistance, therefore glucose unable to enter the cell for energy. So we feel tired because the cell cannot utilize its glucose. So what do you do? Because you're tired and hungry, you eat more carbs. And then this vicious cycle continues. And then even a small amount of sugar is stored as fat. I'll tell you why it occurs in a little while. So even a little more sugar, we are all trapped in this. And therefore, we keep on putting on more fat. And the pancreas has to make more and more insulin to overcome insulin resistance. More insulin resistance. So insulin making cells, they try and finally they burn out. So it's not surprising that we are in the midst of diabetes epidemic. 100 times increase, not 1 or 2 times, 100 times increasing diabetes in India. So I don't know how many of you know foie gras. So foie gras is an exotic dish that if you in France, you go to Paris, you can have foie gras. So foie gras is nothing but a duck liver. So how do they make foie gras? They put a tube into the duck and they keep on feeding it carbs, corn. Okay. Now you think that they will feed the duck for a few years, it'll develop a fatty liver. No, they feed the duck with carbs for 15 days. That's the most amazing thing. Just for 15 days, they give carbs. And how much is the liver enlarged? 10 times its size. So there's no surprise that all of us have fatty. We do an ultrasound, all of us, we have fatty liver. Why? Because we've been eating carbs. Look at this. There's no more dramatic example than that. So if we give this for 15 days, the liver swells to 10 times its size. And then, of course, you harvest the liver, and that becomes a delicacy. And now what our children and some of us are doing is nothing but foie gras. We sit before the TV and like a tube, we are eating all this junk food, and then even children now have fatty liver because of this. So what is the solution for this problem? There's some other alternate fuel. We need some other alternative fuel than carbs. Now remember, protein is for cell growth and repair, not for fuel. So the only alternate fuel that other than carbs that we have is fat. There's no other macronutrient that we have. So fat is very good. Okay. Now whenever we say fat is very good, immediately people will say, but what about cholesterol? My cardiologist said, cholesterol is very bad. You must not eat this. Now remember that most of the cholesterol is endogenous. It comes from the liver. Okay. So we all know about the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol. HDL is the good cholesterol and LDL is the cholesterol. Now, if we eat fat, there's a slight increase in LDL, which is the bad. And that's the reason why many of the earlier studies and many of the cardiologists give you wrong advice, because they think that LDL does increase a little bit. However, like in our Bollywood movies, the LDL has got 2 children. One actually is a policeman and one is the robber. So the policeman one is pattern A LDL. Remember, it's LDL. It's not HDL. Good. It's LDL. It's a pattern A or large fluffy, which is benign. Does not cause. And if you eat the fat, only this will increase. The bad will not. The bad LDL comes from your liver. And how do you injure your liver? You eat carbs, foie gras, you injure your liver, and that makes all the bad cholesterol for you. It is not your dietary cholesterol. So I'd like to say today that dietary, 2 words, dietary natural fat. If you keep on refining the fat, that again is not good. But if you eat natural dietary fat, the cholesterol that comes from that source, dietary cholesterol, is harmless completely harmless. In fact, it may be very good for you. So take this concept home. So how to, this is from a study, how to shift your LDL pattern. We call it a bad B. You know, this is bad B. Bad B is from your liver to all rate A. A stands for all rate A. Daily exercise, low carb diet. Remember, they're not telling you low fat diet, low carb diet. We have a low carb diet, you will shift this bad cholesterol into good cholesterol. It's good for you. So what is the answer? From using sugar, you must use something else for fat, which should be fat. So for mitochondria, of course, you know, the powerhouse of the cell, we learned in undergraduates. So we all have a choice to use glucose fuel and or use fat or ketone bodies as fuel. Now they remember that they will not use fat as long as carbs are available. That's a key point. Okay. So another very important thing is the fat in the body comes from your own deposit. So we all carry a battery cell, always energy. That's our fat in our body. Unlike carbs, we all. So once we learn, yeah.
Actually,
Yes,
your voice is a little shaky and breaking. Can you be a little slow?
Yeah. Okay. I will. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I think that's better. Thank you.
Okay. So so far I hope I was audible. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we have two sources, glucose and fat and ketone bodies. So as long as we give the carbs, we cannot use our fats. And the fat and ketone bodies, we're carrying a cell or fat which you can use for energy. So it's like having a battery in us, but we're not using it because we're giving it carbs all the time. So we must have know these gas guzzlers. Those days we used to have this big cars. Even now we have big cars which guzzle basically carbs. But the most efficient car we have is Tesla, like your fat or ketone bodies that we have. It's truly efficient. But even if you don't become a full Tesla-like car, you must at least become a Toyota Prius. Must be at least a hybrid. You must learn to use fats as well as carbs. So a lot of us never use fat, and there's no wonder that we say we cannot get rid of obesity, because if you're not using your fat, how will you get rid of obesity? So there's a latent human ability to use fat for for energy. This has been put to sleep by the modern carbohydrate-centric diets. We keep on eating carbs, and only we cannot use fat. And remember that mild keto is normal.
Dr. Bose, your voice is very breaking very badly.
Is it? I'm going to do my internet connection. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I will,
actually, Harsha. Harsha?
Can you hear me, Janaki, now?
Yeah, now this is better. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So we all have a latent ability to use fat, but we are put it to sleep by having a carbohydrate-centric diet. Now remember that mild ketosis is normal. Not to confuse with ketoacidosis, which occurs in type 1 diabetics. So mild nutritional ketosis is a good for us. We have a strong evolutionary adaptation to ketones. So from being a sugar burner, we must all become adapters so that we can use our body fat for fuel. Now it's a good time to go a little bit into history. Now, if you look at the Neolithic age, that's when man started doing agriculture and started domesticating animals. That's only 10,000 years ago. Okay. Now, but before the thing, there was a Paleolithic age when we were wandering around for 3 million years. And so we ate whatever is available for us to eat. So this sort of thing, cultivation started only 10,000 years ago. Now, therefore, the primitive man, the Paleolithic man, took only 1% as carbs. Okay, whereas 90% or 99% was non-carbs. Whereas the modern man is quite the reverse. Everything is carbs. Now remember that genetically, our hardware, our body, our organs, etc., are built for this software because we were roaming around like this for 3 million years. Now, what we now, the modern man, if you sort of plot in the clock of a day, we're a few seconds old. The rest of the time, we were primitive. And we were eating a non-carb diet. So our body has been made for a non-carb diet. Now overnight we have changed into a high carb diet now. No wonder we're running into problems. There's a serious evolutionary gap here. So it's not surprising that the population worldwide is sinking into chronic sickness. So now you're not surprised at all. So what are the mechanisms in which it goes? We talked about obesity and insulin resistance. There's also low-grade inflammation that makes you sick. We'll go a little bit into that in a little while. The third factor is your derangement of the gut microbiome. So these three factors are the things that are driving your body into all these lifestyle diseases. Chronically, you are insulting all these three, and we're driving into all sorts of metabolic problems, not suppressing at all now. So what are the pro-inflammatory foods? If we take any pro-inflammatory food, the target organ of the inflammatory food is your visceral fat cells. And that releases all kinds of toxic cells to the body, and all your organs becomes inflamed. So patients have neck pain, back pain, but the problem is not in the neck. It is the inflammation that's being driven in the body. So these are all the pro-inflammatory food. Now guess what is the culprit here? Damaged fats. Because you wanted to have unsaturated fat, you started damaging the fats. That's what is a pro-inflammatory food. Fructose. We'll come to a little while about fructose. Really, really bad. All our packaged food will contain fructose. High glycemic like rice, pasta, bread, all that are the pro-inflammatory foods. Okay, not suppressing, the culprits are the same. Now remember three molecules, trans fat, omega-6 fatty acids and AGEs are all the pro-inflammatory things which really make your whole body completely inflamed. So the gut microbiome, I'll skip this. So microbiome is very important in our body. So the gut microbiome is very important. So we need to, and what are the culprits which alter the gut microbiome? Again, the same, modified fats, high glycemic index foods, and the packaged foods. These are the ones that are spoiling our gut microbiome. And therefore, especially the brain is very closely related to the gut. Now we know that, the gut-brain axis. So we need to have probiotics and prebiotics. Probiotics, of course, is what we take, organisms that we, bacteria that we take. Prebiotics is giving an environment for our things. So this is very important. And you remember all these are natural foods. And some pickles is good as probiotic. There's no artificial food here. So what is pure, white, and deadly? Generally, they said it's referred to cocaine. That's what is pure. But now there's something equally pure, white, and deadly, and that is nothing but sugar. Now remember, if you eat a sugar cane, it may not be that bad. But if you eat sugar, the highly processed chemical that you're eating, and that causes, the metabolic derangements in your body is unbelievable. It's almost as much as cocaine. So we don't know, but a lot of sugar hidden in anything that we take. Coke, for example, it's a mountain of sugar there. And if we eat Coke and if we say you're going unhealthy, I mean, there's nothing suppressing about that. And all our foods have mountains of sugar. This is highly processed chemical. Like cocaine, it's highly processed. So John Uden says, if only a small fraction of what is already known about the effects of sugar were to be revealed in relation to any other material used as a food additive, that material would promptly be banned. A very telling statement. So is there something more deadly than sugar? Yes, it's fructose. It's high fructose corn syrup. So basically anything that comes in packs, anything, whether it is biscuits, or you want to take Bonvita, Horlicks, everything is very, very, very rich in high fructose corn syrup. And this affects your body in three ways. It increases the risk of fat liver by obesity and weight gain. It is grossly pro-inflammatory and makes the body produce very harmful substances, AG or advanced glycation end products. So it's really toxic chemicals. So anything that you buy in a supermarket, is packaged, has got high fructose corn syrup. So it's an unhealthy ingredient. All packaged foods. Now again, no surprise why we are going down this ladder into obesity and lifestyle diseases. Now whenever I compare processed carbs to tobacco use, people always say I'm exaggerating. But actually, I would say it's very unfair to compare processed carbs with tobacco use. Now my view is it's very unfair to the cigarettes actually. So if you look at the dietary risks for cardiovascular disease, the 56% is dietary. Tobacco use is 19%. So actually, you can jolly well have a cigarette rather than taking any processed food. And that's how much we have sunk now. So bad diets are killing more people globally than tobacco. There's no question about that. So here is something very interesting from Australia. So this comes that right now, sugar overload is causing public health crisis in Australia. Smoking used to be everywhere, but Australians came together and said no to the power of big tobacco. Now, smoking-related illness has declined significantly. Let us do the same for sugar. That Australians saw. Again, in India, smoking has come down drastically due to many measures, but sugar consumption has increased. Sugar is much more deadlier than smoking. So these are a few examples, nothing like real examples, who have gone on to this diet and they've been like that. And this is Dr. Krishna Kiran. Krishna Kiran has been my inspiration I learned a lot of things from him regarding this topic. And he himself was like this, 97 kgs. Now he's like that with diet intervention. And I'm sure every one of you who's struggling with obesity or lifestyle disease can make a remarkable change by having a diet intervention. This is my close friend Shiva. He was 130 kgs. Now with the diet intervention, he's now 90 kgs now. So is type 2 diabetes a reversible disease? Of course it is. Well, at least many people think it is. Especially in the early stages, it is reversible. And this is Professor Ray Taylor who strongly believes. So many people are now, even diabetologists now believe that in early stages, it is reversible by diet intervention. Many other lifestyle diseases, whether you take depression, whether you take Parkinson's, whether you take cardiovascular disease, all can be nicely intervened by low carb dietary intervention. Now, the one mistake you should not make is you must not replace carbs with proteins. Proteins will overload your kidneys. So you must replace carbs with fat, natural fat. Now, I'd like to touch upon Framingham study. Not many of you must know Framingham apart from cardiologists. Framingham is a small city in the US, somewhere around the northeast there. Its population is only 70,000. Now, the other thing Framingham is famous for, Janaki, you know what is Framingham famous for?
No.
This is the home of Bose, not my home, Bose speakers.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. So that is the claim to fame for Framingham is Framingham study as well as Bose speakers. So this is the Framingham heart study. Now, what is interesting about this study was in 1940, I think, they started analyzing this small group of people, small population, and all the risk factors. They continuously followed them till today. So how their lifestyle, what disease they're developing, and many simple things that we now take for granted came from the Framingham. For example, smoking is injurious to the heart. All this small, obesity is bad. All those things came from the Framingham heart study. But one thing they got it wrong was they incriminated saturated fat. That's one thing that they got wrong. Now, very interesting, the Framingham heart study has never been stopped till 2 weeks ago because of the COVID. For the first time in the history, in nearly a century, the Framingham heart study has been halted. Now, you remember we talked about this classic diet heart hypothesis. So diet, cholesterol, myocardial infarction, it goes. Now, this guy was the associate director of the Framingham heart study. Okay, George Mann. Now, he says, a generation of citizens have grown up since the diet heart hypothesis was launched as official dogma. They've been misled by the greatest scientific deception of our time. This is from the director of the Framingham study. The notion that consumption of fat causes heart disease is completely wrong. Okay, very sweeping statement. So now we have a lot of these low carb, fats, keto diet, paleo diet, primal diet, etc. So many PCOS diet, etc. But there's no need for you to go into, as long as you understand the science behind it, there's no need to jump into anything else, as long as you understand the science. So what is the scientific basis to healthy eating? Drink more water. Once your carb comes down, you need more water. So you need more water for low carb diet. Sugar, highly toxic chemical, processed carbs, and high fructose corn is toxic to your body. Remember, it's toxic, like cigarette smoking. So more harmful than smoking. So don't take this, simple as that. Now, do not avoid natural fats. They're good for you because you cannot give you satiety. There's no insulin spike. They're not inflammatory. It's a good fuel for your body. Artificial unsaturated heart healthy, so-called heart healthy fat, trans fat is the most unhealthy of all fats. Any low fat products have unhealthy artificial substitutes for natural food. Please don't fall into this trap. Never ever buy low fat or no fat food. They have artificial substitutes. Naturally occurring carbs are okay, but in moderation if sweet. So fruits and things are natural, therefore they are good. Although they are carbs, but they are natural carbs, is okay in moderation. The rainbow diet concept is good. You must eat foods of all colors because a lot of micronutrients we don't know about. So you need to have a rainbow diet. Less refined carbs, low glycemic index like brown rice, red rice, and bread, which have a low glycemic index, is okay for one meal, but you cannot overstuff yourself on that. Protein is essential, but too much is a problem. So non-starchy veggies can be consumed without limit. So never ever go hungry in a meal. That's the wrong concept. You'll never stick to it. Yeah, so you can eat unlimited amount of non-starchy veggies, no problem. So we tell you how to do that. So this is a very interesting one to say. Either you pay the farmer now or you pay farmer later. As I told you, you take home messages. You cannot cure a lifestyle disease by medicines. So there have been some changes. Where are we now over the years? So time itself changing times. First at Ansel, he's the greatest guy on earth, they said. Then they said cholesterol is bad. Then they said cholesterol actually may be good. And now in 2014, they say eat butter. So we have some abstract idea, but it still has not gone into the mainstream. So are there conflicting opinions? Yes, there are books which say that the low carb myth does not work, like this book. And the European Society of Cardiology says low carb diets are unsafe. Okay. And if you see why all this occurs is because Lipitor, you know, the first statin, you know how much money they have made so far, 125 billion US dollars. Now, no wonder they can influence any study. I mean, look at that. That's more than the Indian, you know, government's entire thing they have. So they can influence any study. Now, Canadian researchers have received hundreds of thousands from soft drink makers. And you take cornflakes, for example. Kellogg's influences every study on cornflakes, which is the most toxic thing you can take. Now, this is a very important statement, this one. This one, you know, the New England Journal of Medicine is one of the top 4. You know, the top 4 medicines. Lancet is one, Nature is one, New England Journal of Medicine. Most reputed of all journals. Now, this lady says, Marcia Ansel, she was the editor for 20 years. It is simply no longer possible to believe much of the clinical research that is published or rely on the judgment of trusted physicians or authoritative medical guidelines. I take no pleasure in this conclusion, which I reached slowly and reluctantly over 2 decades. So she says that anything evidence-based medicine is no more evidence-based. It is company-based. So very sort of a bad state that we are. We cannot believe evidence-based medicine anymore. So what is the proof?
Boss, just a minute. I request all the audience and the panelists not to annotate. Please don't annotate. Please take it off. Please don't annotate. It is causing a lot of problems. Harsha, can you help? Remove the annotations. Harsha?
Yeah, as she removes, we will keep going on. Yeah.
Keep going, keep going.
So what is the proof that is of the benefit of this diet? Somebody is annotating, yeah. So you forget publications. So we said evidence-based medicine, we cannot believe for a low-fat, low-carb diet. Then I cannot quote you some literature saying you take, you know, low-carb diet. So what you should do is you must learn from yourself. There's no better experiment than yourself. So please, all of you measure body weight, waist circumference, blood pressure chart. You do a lipid profile, fasting insulin, because you said insulin is the main driver. You do an ultrasound of the liver, HB. Today you do that. You go into a low-carb diet. 4 months, you repeat everything, and you'll be shocked to see the results. There's nothing more that you need to read, nothing more you have to listen to. You are your own best guide. So your body weight will be down, your labs will be normal, your ultrasound of the liver will be normalizing, your blood pressure will be normalizing, you'll feel energetic all the time, no chronic time. Now, if we show all this to some doctors and dietitians now, they'll say, all this is okay, but still I don't believe this. So anything that they're used to for a long period of time, they are so resistant to change. So this is a cartoon on the Atkins diet. You went on Atkins and it's 90 pounds, lowered your cholesterol, cured your high blood pressure, and now you're walking 5 miles a day, but I'm telling you, a low-carb diet is bad for your health. So typically, many medical practitioners who are not up to date will come to this conclusion. So here is a, you know, this guy, you know, the 60s is. Look at how he is there. Yeah. So he again says there is a low carb diet. Mark Sisson, the cornerstone of a healthy lifestyle. Now, if you can look like this, I'm sure Johnny Graham will look like this when he's 66. But nevertheless, this is what you can do with achieve with a low. It can certainly slow down aging. There's no question about that. And now we know this epigenetics. That a lot of genetic things can be modified now, which we call as epigenetics now. So certainly we can slow down aging. So these are all the references that you can use for your own thing. So we come to the end of the first part of the talk. So shall I take questions or you want to go on, Janagi? Can you hear me? Yeah, Janaki. Janaki, can you hear me? Moderator, can you hear me?
Yeah. Actually, Harsha is creating havoc today. I don't know why. I think he's very annoyed with me. So he actually muted me and he has refused to unmute me. Just now he's
Okay.
sorry. Now I think we'll take some questions so that it becomes a little interactive.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to really, I don't know, formally congratulate you for this excellent talk. Believe me, I learned a lot more than anybody, and I am really the best benefited person by this talk. Well, having said that, I want to put forward some questions to you. I think we will start with Dr. Prakash Munka. Based on low carb, can you please suggest some diet charts? Do you have any particular diet chart?
I will cover the chart in the second talk, so we'll keep the question for the later time. Yeah.
Okay, now the next question is that we know this year, he said Harsha has gone in search of low carb diet. Okay.
That's
So,
typically Vinod, yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the best breakfast which you suggest? This is by Ayla.
This again I will cover in my next talk. Yeah. So I think we can move on to the next talk. I think a lot of questions will overlap otherwise. Yeah.
Is cheese okay? Vidyasagar?
Cheese is okay. Cheese is okay.
Okay. What is paleo diet by Ayla Sami?
Yeah. So paleo diet is a very extreme form of this diet. As I said, there's no need to go into extremes. Okay. As long as you understand this carbs, as doctors, you know what is carbs and all that. And if you reduce, basically you want to keep your carbs 30. 30 carbs, 30 fats, 30 proteins %. So if you look at your diet today, 90% will be carbs. Yeah. So you must replace those carbs with fats. Your protein adequate is probably okay because we eat sambar, we eat dal, we eat lentils, peas, etc. So protein intake is okay for an Indian diet, but our fat is very, very, very low. Especially the vegetarian diet, there's no fat there at all. So we must learn to replace carbs with fat. That's basically what you're doing. So whatever you like, whatever you think, but I'll cover this a little more in the next talk. Yeah. So Janik, I think we'll go on to the next talk.
No. We will take some more questions, please.
Okay.
Dr. Lakshmi asks you, what is your opinion on dairy products?
Yeah, that's the dairy products, doesn't suit everyone. Okay. So dairy products, if it suits you, very good. If you have some kind of allergy to dietary products, then to avoid. But if it suits you, please, dietary product is a natural product, and the man was eating dietary products for a long time. So apart from people who have allergy to nuts, for example, then obviously they must not have nuts. Dietary products is a question of individual, and if it suits you, by all means, anything natural as a rule of thumb is very good. Please take it.
Okay, so another question is, what about fruits and dry fruits? You've already answered that question.
Dry foods are the best. Dry foods are the best. Nuts and dry foods are the fats that you can find in your, in a vegetarian diet of fats. So they're excellent food to have.
So another one of your close friends, Dr. Sanjeev Mohanty. I hope you know him. He has worked with you in your hospital.
Yes.
Yeah, he is there with us. He's asking what is your take on sprouts?
Sprouts are very good. Green vegetables are very good. So as I said, this can be absolutely great food. Yeah. So you must learn to have meals without carbs. It's a little difficult initially, but once you learn it, it becomes very easy. So the key tip is in one of your meals, don't have any carbs. Then you'll start experimenting other foodstuffs, and that's how you become healthy. Because we're so dependent on rice or chapati. That we don't eat anything else. We just take a sampling of vegetables. So if you make one meal, non-carb meal, then you will learn to eat properly.
So are you going to give a diet chart? Because
yes, I'm going to. Yes.
If there's no rice, what do we do?
Good. Then we'll tell you how to get your thing down by the diet. Yeah. So let me share my screen. So we go to the part 2.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Where are we?
You know, the host is not in good mood. The Sri Harsha is not in good mood. That is
No,
What
sir,
did-
actually,
what-
this is a new account. Unfortunately, we couldn't configure some settings yet.
okay. No. We were just joking.
Right. Okay. So how to eat? And the question you had asked is, should you count your calories? That's the question that we're going to. And that's what we've always been told. You know, count your calories for having weight loss. Now, is that correct way or not? So you can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So the first golden rule. So we told you 30, 40, 50 years. All the advice we've been giving people have not worked. So the first golden rule is any type of diet that leaves the person hungry is doomed to fail. If you advise your patient something, eat this, you don't eat that, and eat a little bit of it, and the patient is hungry, he will keep it for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, but then he's not going to give it up. That's just how the human mind works. So you must have all heard of these type of products that were popular a few years ago. So they said you eat this powder instead of your meal. Lunch or dinner you eat instead of your meal. There's no question that you'll lose weight. Absolutely, you lose weight if you eat this artificial powder. But once you stop eating, and then you'll go back on a vengeance to all the food that you missed, and then you'll put on more weight than you lost. So that's why all these never worked. So this talk is more about not eating than eating. So what is we're talking about? We're talking about fasting. Okay. Now, many people think that fasting is some new fad, like saying, what is all this? Suddenly everybody is talking about fasting. What is something, is it a new fad? Actually, it's the reverse. Fasting has been there for many decades, many centuries. And if you take any religion in the world, no matter what the religion is, every single religion has got fasting in it. Absolutely. You take, the month of fasting in Hindus, Ramadan, Jainism, Buddhism. You take, there's no religion without fasting. And that's what we've been doing for centuries and centuries. And in places like Singapore, where commonly they have a lot of interfaith meetings, suppose you want to have an interfaith meeting in your community, one common topic that you can all talk about is fasting, because all of us fast. Okay, something very profound. So we have to say, this Paleolithic age, we were all hunter-gatherers. So we were all hunting and eating whatever natural fruits and vegetables are available. Out of necessity, what were we doing? We were, eat, stop, eat. That's because necessity. We didn't have food all the time. We didn't have a refrigerator. So all that we said was eat, stop. That's what we have been there for millions and millions of years. And what actually is a fad or a new fashion is 3 square meals, which came, again, we copied the American way of doing it. So they said the 3 square meals is the way to go. So we all copied that and they said this is the norm. But actually, that is not the norm. We were actually eating, stop eating. That's how we were for millions of years. So what is the fad? 3 square meals is the fad. So we were that eat fast, stop, eat more for a long time. Then the Americans made us into 3 square meals. And now we are gone to non-stop eating. So we sit before our TV and we eat the snacks like a rice tube. We keep on eating. And this is non-stop feeding. So remember I told you our hardware is made for this software. So this type of diet, our body is made for this type of diet. Now it has got no chance against this kind of diet. There's no question that we're all going to die early because of this. Now you'll say that what about genetic adaptation? Genetic adaptation, yes, will occur, but over tens of thousands of years. But not like, every year we are changing the diet like this. Certainly the genetic adaptation cannot take care of that. So the conventional advice on healthy eating was eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Yeah, I'm sure you've all heard that advice. But later on, dietitians told us must eat frequent small meals, dedicate small, so that your calorie count will come down. So keep on snacking all the time. Now, so all these diets rely on calorie reduction as the primary mode to bring down weight. And this is a complete hoax. It will never work. I tell you why calorie reduction as a primary modality will never work. And this we now call as crap. It will never work. So the low calorie diets, all the previous things were low calorie diets. Once you have a calorie deficit, you'll start having a falling basal metabolic rate and energy output. So you'll feel very miserable. And that's why any person you advise a diet, low calorie diet, they'll feel miserable. And they'll have rising hunger and food craving and like elevated stress hormone level. These are all not good. So 35 years we have given this advice to our patients: cut your calories and has not worked. So the 35-year record is unblemished by success. So counting calories may not be the key to weight loss. Maybe we got the equation wrong. So these type of experiments have been done before. Those days in the US, you can do any experiment on prisoners. Now, of course, you can't do. So they did this starvation experiment on prisoners those days, last century. And they found that once you starve them of calories, have a calorie deficit, their heart volume shrank, their heart rate dropped. They all went into a lower metabolic rate. And they all had obsessive thoughts about food and binge eating. So that's exactly what you don't want to achieve. So the traditional concept of eat less calories and burn more calories, why it does not work is, if you eat less calories for a week, 2 weeks, you will lose weight, no question about that. But there is energy is unavailable for increased exercise. So our body enters into the starvation mode. That's how our body is built. So the amount of calories that's required to regain weight is even less than earlier. So people will blame themselves that they are doing something. Usually the husband will blame their wives will blame their husbands that they eat less calories. So it's a cycle. So you will go back into more weight than you lost by cutting your calories. So why this concept doesn't work is we think the body is a one compartment. You put calorie in and calorie out, but it doesn't work like that. Again, the main player here we told is insulin resistance. So our body is made of two compartments. The refrigerator is like your wallet. We can have limited amount of glycogen. We can have limited amount of glycogen in our liver as well as in our muscles. That's like your wallet, limited amount you can have. But this fat bank, you have any amount, it's like a vault. Any amount of fat we can eat, any of us can store. That's why we become fatter and fatter. This unlimited fat we can store. I will say, why not have a bank of fat and utilize it whenever we need energy? Unfortunately, with insulin resistance, you can put it into the bank, but you cannot take it away from the bank because of insulin resistance. That's why we keep on putting on fat. We're not able to mobilize the fat because of insulin resistance. That's the problem that we are having. And that's the two compartment model. That explains that obesity that I told you about. Fat patients come to you, they are malnourished and they don't eat much. And that is the tragedy of it. They tell you, I'm sure you all had patients like that. They tell you, sir, I really don't eat much, but I'm fat. That's the tragedy of the whole thing. And that's because they're trapped into this problem. However, if you fast, it's quite different. Because you're fasting, your insulin level is low. And therefore, your bank fat can be utilized. So whenever your refrigerator runs out, glycogen runs out, your fat comes in. And that's how this is so much different from calorie restriction. We don't want calorie restriction. Now we believe calorie restriction is bad for you. We now call it clean eating. As long as you eat clean, there's no need for calorie restrictions. There's no question that fasting reduces plasma insulin. Absolutely, as this graph shows. Now these are two sides of the same coin. Yeah, intermittent fasting and low carb, high fat diet. One without the other doesn't work very well. Remember that. So you must do intermittent fasting, low carb, high fat diet. And this recent article, why fasting is the new way to lose weight and live longer. I think there's no doubt about that now. The most astonishing thing about that, your hunger disappears. This we call as the miracle of fasting. And those of us who fast and who know, you ask them, you will not feel hungry because you're utilizing your fat. Simple as that. You become a fat adapter. So whenever you need energy, low on energy, you utilize your body fat. That's the miracle of fasting. So fasting has got a lot of favorable responses, which calorie reduction does not have. Insulin drops, noradrenaline rises, growth hormone is good, cortisol level drops. The resting metabolic rate is maintained. It doesn't drop with fasting. That's the whole thing. So common types of fasting that you can do is an 8-hour eating window, which is the easiest that you can do. Or you can have a warrior diet or alternate day fasting. Or you can have a 24-hour fast alternating different days of the week. But for people, I would suggest that you go for an 8-hour eating window. That's probably the easiest thing to do. So only one caveat here. For the first few weeks, you may feel a little bit of irritability, hunger. That's because you have not become a fat adapter still. You're low on calories because you are fasting. You have not learned to utilize your fat. But once you start to use your fat, you will never feel hungry. It's just like a miracle. So invariably in 2 to 3 weeks, this thing goes off once you become a fat adapter. Now, how long can one fast? People always say, don't fast. That's what we've always been told as children. That's because you'll burn your protein, muscle and protein. That's very much wrong. If you ask me, how long can one fast? It depends on how much of fat reserves that you have. So this is the longest documented fast. So this guy changed from 214 kg to 81 kg. And he fasted for 382. Now, you and I cannot fast for so long because we're not so fat. But generally for you and me, uncomplicated fasting is 7 days. Nothing will happen. Protein will not get burnt down. So in order of preference, the body uses glucose. And only when you then it goes to glycogen store. And only when there is no glucose and glycogen, you can start utilizing your fat. If you keep giving glycogen carbs to your body, you will never have a chance to burn your fat. And only when your fat goes off, then only your protein will be touched by the body. Protein can be used of energy in this. So in all these famine situations, they will lose muscle. That's because they don't have any fat. As long as fat is there, it will protect your protein and muscle. So don't let not anybody tell you that fasting will cause muscle loss. It just does not, as long as you have fat. So does fasting cause protein and muscle loss? No, it does not. So you can see that, that first the carbohydrates will go off, and then the fat, protein is maintained. So again, the most important thing in fasting, the BMR does not drop as in calorie restriction. So this guy says how he is able to put on muscle by having intermittent fasting. Not just no prevention, it's a good way to put on muscle by intermittent fasting. So much of. Now, this is the main problem. I'm sure you all had patients who come and tell you, sir, I'm not eating. I eat only very little, but I'm so fat. It's genetic. It's not genetic. It's not the overeating that they're doing. It is the frequent eating that they're doing. That's the problem. Okay. So this again has been a study on prisoners in the US. That if you overeat, your body will compensate very quickly. But however, if you have your insulin resistance by chronic eating, that's when the body cannot compensate. If you have an intermittent phase of overeating, a few days, the body will get rid of it without no time, not a problem. But if you chronically do not fast or keep on giving it all the time, food, then. So this is a very important point. Your body is either in energy burning mode or energy saving mode. You cannot do both at the same time. Your body recognizes only these two states. So if we keep on having snacks, late night snack you have. If you have a late night snack, you have killed whatever gains you made by exercise the whole day. Or you have an early morning snack or a mid-morning snack. All that will kill you too, because you immediately the body goes into the energy saving mode. Remember that food is not an addition of calories, just calories. There are signals to the body to do various things. The common example that we give that is whenever you are fasting, you can have liquids. You can have water, any amount. You can have coffee, you can have tea, you can have green tea, you can have a soup broth, just the liquid. The body does not recognize this as food. So it's okay. So morning you want to have coffee, please have coffee. But the South Indian coffee that we have is fully, it's not the calorie that's the problem, but it will tell the body that you have broken your fast. We have a morning South Indian coffee at 6 o'clock. Tell you your fast is broken. There is no fasting after that because your fast is already broken. But if you have black coffee, nothing will happen. You can fast till 12 o'clock or whenever you want. Okay, so remember that the body recognizes only two modes, off or on. There's no in-between mode. Yeah. So by keeping the body constantly in the fed state, the body does not go into calorie burning mode. Now this is various things that we always blame on. Some of the things, rice is very calorie dense, and anything sweet, we eat a lot of sweets which have got sugar in it, very, very calorie dense. You got to be careful. Pizza, all this junk food is very calorie rich. And you may be surprised that actually if you do a calorie count with fasting and you're eating only your lunch and dinner, you may actually be calorie deficient. I want all of you to start counting, not count your calories, but do it as an experiment. You'll be shocked to find that you're actually calorie deficient. Males need about 2,500 calories a day. Women need about 2,000 calories, and you may not be actually obese patients. Some of you here are obese. You'll find that actually you're calorie deficient. That's really something that we have to think about. Now, this is another very good example. One idli gives you 33 calories. So we need about 2,000 calories a day. So we have to, in theory, you can eat 50 idlis a day. Look at the amount of food that you're allowed to eat. 50 calories, 50 idlis. So the problem is not overeating in any of us. None of us are overeating. We're only eating the wrong food at the wrong time. None of us are overeating. And that comes as when I tell this to patients, they're overjoyed. When they know that you are not overeating, it's really, they really light up. They identify with that when you tell them you are not overeating. So one may be fat but still have malnutrition, as we explained earlier on. Okay. The only way to explain this is the insulin, the trap of insulin resistance. And only if you conquer insulin resistance, you'll break this cycle. So a lot of papers saying that intermittent fasting for variety of metabolic diseases, all the metabolic diseases can have a very favorable change with intermittent fasting. So some tips. So a lot of people ask about the diet. So how do you do a diet? So we call it clean eating now. Don't count your calories. Never be hungry in your eating period. Any meal, you must feel satiated, that you had a good meal. Very important. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you're making a mistake, it is in your daily diet. There's something that do, not something that do occasionally. So if you're eating outside in a friend's place once in a way, you can eat a sweet, you can eat an ice cream, you can eat whatever you want. Because that is never going to harm you. Occasional thing. A mistake is always the daily diet. Many things that you do is habitual and non-biological. Just like we think, that breakfast is so essential for us. It is just a matter of habit. It is not at many meals, we think that we need to have a main course, that you must eat something large amounts. That is just habituation. We don't have to, many times, when we are in the club with friends and all that, we'll eat a lot of snacks. And before we go, they'll ask, what about dinner? Haven't you had dinner? Well, we have been having, 2,000 calories of various snacks. And then they'll ask, haven't you had dinner? So these are all habits. You must get away from these habits. So a big, large portion is not necessary at all. Yeah. So as I said earlier, try and make one meal carb-free. Then you start experimenting with vegetables. A lot of things that you'll start doing, a lot of butter, ghee, you'll discover many, many alternatives. Good news is don't count calories. If you count calories, it's temporary gains. But if you don't count calories, it's temporary. It's a lifestyle change we're talking about, clean eating. If you struggle with the regimen, you're not going to make it long term. So you must enjoy it. You must enjoy whatever you're doing. The new meal that you're doing, monitor your success. And all these parameters that I told you, the surest way to get motivated. And it is so, so easy to change this. So it's not that you must eat this and you must not eat that. Not like that at all. As long as you follow these principles. So typically, how I would do a meal would be, I won't have breakfast. I'll have coffee in the morning. And so I will stop my slide sharing here. So typically, I will have coffee in the morning, black coffee, not a problem at all. And then no breakfast. Never feel hungry. So about 12:30, 1 o'clock is lunch. So you must know how to break your fast. So you must eat a non-carb. No point taking a snack like a biscuit or something like that that will give you an insulin surge. So typically it would be vegetables. Some kind of vegetables you break your fast with. Or you can have an omelette, for example. And then you must have water. We underdo the water. So you break your fast, you waited for some time, you had water. Okay? And trust me, the amount that you can eat is so little that you can eat, especially if you have with ghee and things like that. So typically I would eat a little bit of rice, brown rice. I will take, and I said, if I feel hungry, I'll keep on eating the vegetables, whatever vegetable available, unlimited amount. And then you have dal, you have everything together for the protein part of it. We usually will have some kind of nut, groundnut, something like that. So that's a very balanced meal. It's not that one main big, so if you have sambar rice, rasam rice, curd rice, that is toxic. That is not how we are meant to eat. That is completely toxic. So end of the meal, all the people that have advocated this, they say they're never hungry. You can never be hungry and maintain a diet plan. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that was a mind-blowing talk. I'm sure we have part 3, right, of on fitness.
Yes, we have, yes.
Okay, so we will actually take questions on diet modification. First of all, let me put my first question to you. So when I get up in the morning, the first thing I feel is I'm a patient with gastritis, so I have a severe heartburn. I have to break my fast early in the morning by taking some bananas or something like milk or something like that. So if you are a patient who is having also the ulcer or whatever we call, then how do you follow this diet? This is my first question.
Well, let me tell you that your heartburn and your acid peptic disease is another lifestyle disease driven by these 3 mechanisms again. Yeah. So I must say that you're eating carb-rich food all the time and you're not fasting. So if you cut down on your carbs, eat fat, and then if you do intermittent fasting, your acidity will go away. Because all of us we know millions in the world who follow this, you must all think that we're all developing hyperacidity because we are keeping our stomach on hydrochloric acid all the time. No, it's not. The excess production of hydrochloric acid is because, again, eating pro-inflammatory foods, packaged foods, that is causing the problem. It's another lifestyle disease, hyperacidity. So if you change it into this, you wait for a time, don't eat any antacids or H2 antagonists. You just wait for some time, couple of weeks, I guarantee you, your hyperacidity itself will go away.
Wow, that's a great one. And what about the sugar substitutes which are available in the market? They say that the diabetics can have the sugar substitutes. What's your take on that?
That one, what's it called? That comes in a small pack. That's the what is that called? I forgot.
It's called sugar-free.
Sugar-free. Yeah. So that is again a toxic substance. Yeah, you'd rather have sugar on that. So that certainly any substitute like that is very bad. However, if you have natural sugar, so you have jaggery, palm sugar, it's okay. But again, because it is sweet, as I said, any carb that is sweet, you must have a little. So once you get rid of this addiction of these sweets, it's like any other addiction, like smoking or anything. What is the definition of the term addiction? Addiction means something that is not good for your body, but you still keep doing it. Yeah. So sugar is an addiction. Just like this, cocaine and things, it give you addiction, biological addiction I'm talking about. So once you learn to cut, then eventually you don't need sugar. I've never take sugar in my coffee for many years now. I eat an occasional sweet or ice cream. As I said, if you go to a party or somewhere, I certainly would have a sweet ice cream, not a problem at all. But you'll find that initially substitute with natural sugars, palm sugar, jaggery. You need sweet things. But eventually, as you keep cutting it, you won't need anything like that. Absolutely, you won't need anything like that.
So I'm actually now rather confused after your talk, because whatever I'm eating, all carbs. Chapati, I thought I've changed to chapati, and I was actually, jumping, and that is also carbs. Now, please tell us what to eat. It's as if I should not eat at all. This is boiling down to a talk where, guys, you fast forever. This is becoming like that. So please give us some advice. So what is it that we have to? Can you give me your diet? What do you eat?
Yeah. So I told you my lunch. Yeah. So I will eat. Break my fast with vegetables.
So what time do you do that? Can you just
at about 1 o'clock? 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
So till 1 o'clock you don't touch anything. Just water. Even water you don't take.
No, water, coffee, is allowed. Green tea is allowed.
Okay.
So another important point, Janaram, I'm telling you, many of the things that you perceive as hunger is actually thirst. So many times we underdo the fluid bit, and so you must never underdo the fluid bit. Many things that we think we're hungry, but actually we're not hungry. We're only thirsty. The body sort of misinterprets that. So you must go good on your fluids. Once you go fluid, believe me, not only me, millions of people, you will not feel that hunger pangs or anything like that. It will not be. So typically, I fast at 1 o'clock. I will have vegetables. So vegetables I will have some water. Give a gap of 10 minutes. Then I will have my lunch. So lunch will have rice, which is red rice, low glycemic. It will have vegetables. It will have a lot of ghee. It will have sambar. It will have protein. As I said, some kind of
pulses.
Pulses it will have. So it's a very balanced diet. And I end my diet by having fruits. What else you want?
What about curd?
Curd is very good. It's a probiotic. It's a good probiotic. It's a very important thing to have curd. Okay. Apart from people who have allergy. Okay. That's a little different thing. Now, dinner time. So if you want to have, nuts for, tiffin, you want to have some fat food, dry fruits for tiffin, you want to have something. But one thing you don't have is biscuits or sweets or packaged. Now, all fried items also has got this AGE, so you must be careful about that. But anything natural, you want to have dates, you want to have whatever you have, fruits, fine, you have for your as a thing as well. And at dinner, I would break my fast typically with a 3-egg omelette, not just the white. So we said yellow is very good. So I'll break my fast with that, and then after 15 minutes, I will typically have something with paneer, or I eat non-vegetarian, so I'll have a chicken dish or something like that. And then because once you once you learn how to eat it, then I probably, if my family is having some chapati or something, I'll have, but then you cannot eat 6 chapatis. You cannot eat a plate of rice. because you've broken your fast already, you've taken water, you've taken a lot of vegetables, and so maybe I'll have one chapati or two chapatis. That's one small portion of the meal. That's not like a main. There's no main course here. And if I feel hungry still, I will take more vegetables. I will take more fruits. So never feel hungry. A lot of ghee in it. So I'm full. Many times I won't be able to. Whenever I calculate my daily calorie, I'm underdoing my eating. I mean, I want to eat more. You'll also come to that stage. You want to eat more. You think I'm calorie deficient. Hey, and what a joy that is. That you're calorie deficient. You can eat more.
So you're a person. You have discounted exercising in it. If you put in exercise inside, then do we have to substitute for that?
Yes. So the exercise, do not confuse sportsmen with this. This talk is not meant for them. Sports diet is a separate topic by itself. They will need lots and lots of carbs. If a professional sportsman, if Roger Federer is playing 5 hours of tennis a day.
No, not Roger Federer. If we just go in for a walk or maybe do a little gym.
I'm coming to that. Yeah. So do not confuse them with that. They will give you advice. Now they advise based on 5 hours of exercising. So don't confuse their advice. There's a different thing. So sports nutrition is different, need lots of carbs and stuff like that. So it's completely different. So for us, you look at your calorie, yeah. Not as a counting calorie, but as a mechanism, yeah. So if you do exercise is the third part of it, yeah. So that's also very important for various reasons. And then you'll find that all your parameters, most important is the parameters you're measuring. Objective parameters are improving. And that's the biggest success. Once you see it improving yourself, and then there's no stopping you. Absolutely. There's not a single person I know who has dropped out of this or said, I cannot conquer my obesity or lifestyle disease. There's not a single person I know so far.
So we're going to take some questions. So we're going to unmute Sachin Nagre. Are you there, Dr. Sachin? Can I unmute and make them ask questions so that
yes, please. Yes,
personal, yeah. Sachin Nagre, can you unmute yourself, please? Harsha, please. Yeah. Sachin, you can ask your question. Sachin Nagre is from Aurangabad, and he's a
Unmuted.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you please ask your questions to Dr. Bose?
Yeah. So basically, sir, you are advising twice a day diet, means 2 meals a day diet. Okay.
Yes. So the answer is not 2 meals the easiest way of doing it, because we have to go to office or go to hospital. But if you are very keen on breakfast, the scientific basis is eating only for 8 hours.
Okay.
Starving for, so suppose you say I cannot skip breakfast. Okay. Then try and have very early dinner. Okay. 7 o'clock you finish your dinner. Okay. Then 7 o'clock. So the minimum fasting is 12 hours. If you say I fast for 8 hours, it's not fasting at all. So minimum is 12 hours. So 7 to 7 you're covered. So every additional hour will have exponential benefits. Okay. Now, so you become 13, 14. So at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you want to eat something breakfast, please eat.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So you can have 3 meals. You can have breakfast. Then 1, 2 o'clock you can have lunch. 7 o'clock you can have dinner. But all the 3 meals were within your eating window.
Okay. And can we have honey instead of sugar?
Yes, natural honey is good.
Natural honey.
Absolutely good. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very nice talk, sir.
So no, don't go away. We have one more part of fitness. We'll ask Dr. Ashokan. Ashokan is from hello. Can you unmute Ashokan, please? Ashokan is our classmate.
Thank you.
Hi, Ashokan.
Hey, Ashokan. Good to see you, Ashokan.
Hey, hi, Vijay. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Good evening. I'm Ashokan. I'm proud to say that I'm their classmate rather than telling they are my classmates.
It's a pleasure, Ashokan, to see you. It's really an honor to have all of you here. And
Vijay, I mean, it's a wonderful talk, for an orthopedic man to speak so much. Anyway, I have just one question, or maybe it's just to share. I happen to read a little bit of integrative medicine where the role of vitamins are very important in reducing or preventing chronic inflammatory reaction, especially at cellular level. So, and also I have read and I've been practicing a lot of vitamin infusion therapy for people who are prone to have chronic inflammatory and degenerative diseases, and I've been seeing good results on that. There's one article which I have read about homocysteine, which happens to be one of the causes for coronary artery disease, while homocysteine is converted into methionine by high dose of B12 at cellular level. And also another thing is people who takes antacids, and also those diabetics who are on metformin group of medicines, it is known that these two products directly impairs the absorption of B12 at cellular level, which means eventually people who have these problems will have low B12 level, where at the mitochondrial level, the conversion of nutrition into energy, which you showed just now, will not happen. So, and I did not hear anything about vitamins in your plan.
Yes. So if somebody has got, we talked about the rainbow diet, yeah. So somebody is having, vitamin A is a very powerful antioxidant, vitamin E, B12, vitamin D, sunlight. So the primary emphasis is on a natural lifestyle. You must eat a rainbow diet. So you must eat something that is purple, something that is violet, something like green. So it usually covers everything. You should not try and avoid any natural food. Okay. Now once you start being very finicky, and then all sorts of deficiencies comes in. So if you are, as a general rule, if you are exercising, sunlight, and you are eating a very varied diet, it takes care of your requirements as a general rule. However, if you have some specific problem or the diet is a problem, you can't get a balanced diet, then of course we need supplementation. No question about that. But the primary emphasis is on clean living and clean eating. Yeah. So I wouldn't advise, there is no molecule on earth which everyone needs. And that's my problem with statins. I'm not saying you must not take statins. There is familial hypercholesteremia, there are a lot of other diseases which can cause hypercholesteremia, and they need statins. But if somebody tells me everybody over 50 needs statins, there's something fundamentally wrong in that. If at all we needed statins, God would have given us statins. Okay? So there's no molecule on earth that all of us, 100% of us need. No. But suppose for some lifestyle issue, some metabolic problem you have, some other disease you have, and some other, like Ashokan said, you're taking some medicines, and therefore you're not absorbing essential nutrients, you need supplementation. Yes. But somebody who's not on all that does not need any supplementation as a routine. Like everybody needs calcium, everybody needs vitamin D. No, it has to be in your diet. Simple as that, and your exercise. That's how our ancestors lived. And they were much, much, much more healthier than us. Now we create all our man-made problems, and we're trying to find solutions. I take your point, Ashokan, very thing. But as a general thing, yes. And if there's some problem with something, certainly you need supplementation. Okay. So shall we go on to we'll finish the next talk also, so that we can take
the next talk and then finally open up the house for questions.
Yeah.
It's proving to be a very interesting and useful topic. This is the best talk I've ever heard in this lockdown. This is a game changer or a life changer. That's more important.
Right. Okay. So that obesity 3 part 1. I just have to go back. Just give me a second, please. That's my PowerPoint.
So anybody has got any comments before he wants to? I think we have Ajmal here. Ajmal is here. Ajmal. Salim Ajmal. Can you unmute Salim Ajmal? Harsha?
Yes, sir. I'm doing.
Hello.
Hi. Your presentation. Ajmal?
Yeah.
Hi, Ajmal. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Yeah, Ajmal, okay, so good to hear your voice. Yeah.
Hey, I'm following your advice, man. After your dinner, I went home and you advised me all the exact thing. I'm following it exactly that only. 8 hours diet. I'm healthy.
Wow.
Hopefully.
Fantastic. So
Great.
Dr. Ajmal is from London, and he's a classmate. Just to introduce you to the other people here. So nice to hear that. But you could have given a talk earlier in our group, Bose.
Bose.
Yeah.
No, he's always been advising. Only thing is, people don't listen to him, isn't it? Because they say, "Elimbu doctor, elimbu anida poraru," and all kept away from him.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay.
Both you're getting it?
Yeah.
Share screen?
Very good
Okay.
talk, boss. Okay, thank you.
How to eat? Where is the other one? Just reduce this.
Just mute everybody, Harsha.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to have the next talk, the next topic, that is fitness. I'm eagerly waiting for that, the fitness talk from the orthopedician.
Yeah, can you see my slide now?
No. You have to share your screen.
I'll share your screen. Okay, I just share my screen. Just give me a sec. Share screen. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Perfect. Yep.
Right. Okay. So coming to exercise, again, we have been giving wrong advice to our patients, I think, and none of our exercise program. But again, I'm sure you all had patients who come to us and say they are doing the exercise, but then they are so obese and they're caught in this trap. So again, the whole question of conquering something is knowing all about it. Once you know all about it, it's easy to conquer. Now, there are 4 basic and 3 advanced components to exercise program. Now, it's a very important slide. The 4 essential components are flexibility and mobility. The next component is muscle strength and bulk. And then you have stamina and endurance. And then you have burning fat and calories. These are essential components, okay? Now, there are 3 advanced which, generally can ignore. This is for advanced people. You have plyometrics, balance, and sports specific and rehab. So if you leave these 3, these 4 are so essential, okay? Now, we have a lot of exercises today. We have a lot of options. You can do jogging, brisk walking. You can do dance fitness, Zumba. You can for anything, or you can do any type of martial arts. You can do yoga. You can do Pilates. You can do calisthenics and do gym weight training and body weight and exercise. So we tell our patients go and do home exercise. Nothing more foolish than it's like go and take some medicines. You not told them how each component what they should do, and that's the problem. Like
Bose.
Yeah.
Your voice is breaking, please.
Yeah. Now okay.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
It's breaking a little. Yeah.
Better now.
Go slow.
Is it better now, Janaki?
No, it's bad. Very bad. Hello? Hello? No.
No, not
yeah, better now. Yeah,
okay. So these are the 4 very crucial parts of any exercise program. Okay. Now the first rule of exercise is you must love the activity. You can't let a person go to the gym if he doesn't go to like the gym. So today there are enough options for all of us to choose something that we love. Okay. The second rule is neglecting one or more basic the commonest mistake that people make. Now they say they have not made any progress with exercise because they're neglecting one or more components of this basic exercise program. Now, a word about yoga. Yoga has got much more benefits than just physical exercise. You talk about inner peace, meditation, mindfulness, breathing, etc. So this yoga is beyond the scope of this talk. So I'm not going to talk about the benefits of yoga. That's got much more than just physical exercise. Now, the commonest mistake people do is they don't do efficient exercise. For example, you want weight loss, for example. They'll say they're doing yoga. So a lot of patients say that, what exercise you're doing? I'm doing yoga. Now, yoga is a great exercise, no question about that. But it's not an efficient exercise for fat burning. Commonest mistake people make. And that's why once it doesn't give them rewards, they will stop it. And once it gives them rewards, they will continue it. So that's the problem that we are having. So using yoga for weight loss is not a good at all. Yeah. Now, every one of us as doctors must understand these 2 types of metabolism and muscle fibers. So we have this aerobic metabolism and anaerobic metabolism. Aerobic metabolism is creating energy by burning carbs and fat. We told you 2 fuels are available in the presence of oxygen, like the name suggests. End product is carbon dioxide and water. So these are the type 1 red or the slow twitch muscle fibers, usually small tension over a long period of time. Okay. The other type of muscle fibers is the white muscle fiber, type 2, fast. And this is used in anaerobic metabolism. The end products are carbon dioxide, water, and lactic acid. Okay. Now, if you are non-vegetarian, you know the chicken leg meat has got red meat in it. That's a classical example of a type 1 fiber. And if you see the chicken breast is white in color, there's a classical example of a type 2 muscle fibers. So important to understand this. Now, any sporting activity that you do, there'll be a combination of aerobic and anaerobic components like soccer, tennis, or basketball are good sports to do, but they'll have a combination of this. This is the important thing that every one of us have to understand. So these are the exercise zones, as we say. So very, very simple. So this is your maximum heart rate. How do you find your maximum heart rate? You subtract your age from 220. So you take Janagram and me and all the people from our batch. We are 53 years old. So our maximum heart rate is 170. Okay, roughly 170. Let's keep it in rounded numbers. So if you do 60% of 170, you start to burn fat. 60% of your heart rate, you start to burn fat. You go to 70%, you go into aerobic. Aerobic means you are building your endurance. It's good for you. If you go to 80%, then you're going into anaerobic metabolism. It's also good. Now, generally for people of our age, or we do not, only for sportsmen, we go past 90. Generally, we don't go past 90. So for each one of you, I want you to memorize these magic numbers. The magic numbers are different for your different ages. So for our age, if you take, we're 53 years old, the three magic numbers are 105, 120, and 135. That's all you need to know. So for our age group, these are the magic numbers. So only after your heart rate goes above 105, you will start losing fat. So a lot of people do exercises, or they think they do exercise below this range, and they come to you and they say they are not losing weight. Obviously, you will not be losing weight. So once you cross 120 for our age group, so each age group is different, we start building endurance. That's cardio or aerobic. And once we cross 135, we go into the anaerobic zone. Okay, so these are the three magic numbers for somebody who's 50 years old. For each age group, it differs. The other way of looking at it is that in the weight loss zone, you're comfortable, you're not in your exercise, you're not losing any calories or weight or fat. But if you're slightly breathless, that's when you start losing some amount of fat. And if you're really breathless, you're doing aerobic cardio. And if you have fatigue and muscle burn, you're gone into the anaerobic zone. So that's all. So for our age, we don't want to cross 155 for our age, we don't want. So for each age, it's a little different. So understanding, aerobic metabolism, which is steady state exercise, the target rate must be, we said 70 to 80% of maximum heart rate. So you remember our magic numbers. You want to go into the 120 plus zone. Okay. So this is commonly called as cardio or anaerobic workout. And it's excellent for building endurance and stamina. So you can do any of these exercises that you want, that you like, whether you want to do jogging, treadmill, elliptical, whatever is it. They're all great cardio exercises. Now, understanding anaerobic exercise is what you do with resistance and weight. Typically, heart rate will be between 80 to 90% of maximum heart rate for anaerobic metabolism. So activities are short duration, very vigorous intensity, minimal reps for large weight. The body uses anaerobic metabolism for this purpose. So for all your doctors out there, I like to tell you that you must all know this basics of exercise. That is, you must all know what is your 1 rep max. Each one of you here must know what is your 1 rep max. 1 rep max is the maximum weight you can lift for only once and not the second time. So after a good warm-up, if you lift a weight only once, that's your rep max. Okay, very simple concept to understand. Now, one can achieve different goals. So we call using weights the low rep range. That is within 1 to 5. That is usually 90% of your rep max. That is your low rep range. And mid rep range is 75% of your rep max. That is your mid rep. That's usually 6 to 12 reps. High rep range is for building endurance. That is 12 to 25 reps. That is less than 50 of your rep max. So simple. We got everything now. So if you're not having any effect, you're using the wrong weight or using the wrong reps. That's why the exercise that you're doing is not giving you any benefit. So again, the same thing. 1 to 5, if you want to have strength, you must do 1 to 5 reps. So the weight must accordingly, based on your rep max, must vary. And if you want to build muscle mass, you must do 6 to 12 rep range. And you must choose the correct weight for that, for you. And if you want to do endurance, get endurance, you must go 12 plus on your reps. It's not easy, very easy for everyone to understand. Yeah. So now we have started combining aerobic and anaerobic. So this came from Sweden, where they found that just jogging didn't give much benefit. But once you started sprinting for some time and then jogging, and they found the effect was drastically better. And the same thing, this is now called as HIIT, or high intensity interval training. Tabata is another Japanese way of doing it, founded by Izumi Tabata, where again you do rapid exercises and then you relax for some time. Rapid, relax. Now, this is the science behind HIIT. I want all of you to understand HIIT, and you'll find it such an efficient way of losing fat and calories. So what is HIIT? So you're moving your heart rate into the anaerobic zone. Okay. So we said 120 plus. So you have to move above 135 for a 50-year-old. Then you go into the anaerobic zone. It is so important that because it suddenly becomes a very efficient exercise for burning fat. Any type of HIIT program that you do. Now, another reason why HIIT programs are very good is EPOC. EPOC stands for excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. So the good news about HIIT is, even after you finish your exercise, you're coming and you're working on your laptop or watching TV, you are still continuing to lose calories. Isn't that a great thing for HIIT? Absolutely. So Mayo Clinic recent study says HIIT is safe even for people with heart disease. So there's not one of you here who needs to think that going into the anaerobic range is bad. But we don't go into anaerobic range constantly. We go only for a short phase of time. And that just suddenly turns your exercise program into a very, very time efficient program. So this is the new mantra that we have, HIIT. So it's tremendously time efficient. Now 15 minutes of HIIT is equivalent to 1 hour of cardio. So all our doctors, we say we don't have time. No more excuse. 15 minutes is more than enough. And the biggest advantage is 2 times per week is sufficient. Now don't tell me you can't spare 15 minutes 2 times a week. It's much more efficient in fat burning. It boosts growth hormone levels. It increases your insulin sensitivity, decreases resistance. It affects continuous after stopping exercises. It raises BMR, preserves muscle mass. So, I mean, huge advantages. So especially for people who are busy, like in our profession, it's the ideal thing for you. The only disadvantage is that you have to be careful. You must do something that you're good at. You must not do HIIT for something that you're not good at. Where you have good form, for example, if you can do good sit-ups, for example, in a good form you're doing it, that exercise must be chosen for HIIT. Something that you're not good at push-ups, you must not do a HIIT program with the push-ups. That will lead to injury. So which exercise is best for fat burning? That's the question that you tell our patients. And a lot of us here are struggling with obesity and weight loss. That is the best program is for you, HIIT. It's such a revolution in exercises. Once you start doing a HIIT program, your fat will melt like that. Okay. And because also of EPOC, 15 minutes is 40% more efficient than 1 hour of cardio. I mean, what more than you can want. However, every day you must not do HIIT. You must alternate with cardio, and you must take a day of rest. These are all very important principles of any exercise program. Every day you can't be doing weights or HIIT exercise. That I'm sure Janaki Raman would subscribe to that. Yeah. So your cardiorespiratory fitness is assessed by this VO2 max. So if you want to know how fit you are, so similar to horsepower of a car. So I'm sure Janaki Ram has got an excellent VO2 max. So the VO2 max is not only your heart capacity, is also your lungs, your capillary delivery. Remember that your muscle also have to be efficient for you to have a good cardiorespiratory, that's just like a brake horsepower of a car. Now, whenever you have a sports lab like we have in our hospital, very sophisticated equipments to measure your VO2 max. This is for sportsmen, not for you and me. For you and me, we want to measure a VO2 max. One of these modern fitness trackers, a high-end one, will tell you your VO2 max straight away. This thing like that would cost today about 12 to 15,000. If you don't want to invest in that, doesn't matter. But no one must be without a fitness tracker which gives your heart rate. You cannot do any exercise without a fitness tracker. This now costs only 800 rupees, which gives your heart rate. You cannot do any exercise. You're fooling yourself. You think you're doing any exercise because you don't know which zone you're going into. And as long as you remember your magic numbers for 50 years, what are the magic numbers? Janaki? Janaki Ram there?
I've unmuted him. Just a minute, sir.
Okay, that's okay.
Carry on, Bose. I'm unmuted. You can carry on. Carry on.
Yeah. So our batch 50 years old. I want to know what are the magic numbers, which I told earlier.
105.
Yes.
135.
120 and 135. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so every age group, if you have it in your mind, there's no need for advanced fitness tracker. This will serve the purpose. So when you're exercising, you have to know which zone you're going into. Simple as that. Okay. So that's all there is to it. Yeah. So you know. So how do we know we are fit or not? By looking at our resting rate. So normal resting rate is 60 to 100. But remember that anything can be improved upon. If you have a normal lipid profile, you can improve on your lipid profile. If you think the normal HbA1c is 5.7, you can improve on that. There's nothing in life that cannot be improved upon. I'm sure you all agree to that. So even if your heart rate is in the normal zone, if you say it is 73 per minute or 75 per minute, you can reduce it. Athletes will have around 40. So please try and improve. Don't need to go into VO2 max. Just your resting heart rate tell you how fit you are. After exercise, how rapidly you are able to come to a resting heart rate will tell you your longevity. Very simple thing to do. Okay, so a patient or yourself, if you think you're exercising without a simple device like this, you're fooling yourself. Okay. Now, walking is the commonest exercise that people say, sir, I'm doing walking every day, sir. Our housewives will tell us, sir, morning till night I'm working, sir, I'm washing dishes. There's no question. I don't say they are not working, but they are not doing any exercise. That's really the tragedy of it. Because you are not pushing your heart rate beyond that. You are below 105, 50 years old. You are not burning any calories. It's equal to watching TV. So although when they tell us they're working day, they're doing household work, or they're going for walks, typically what people do now is like this. They'll go for walks and they'll talk on a cell phone. So just because you are on the cell phone, by definition, you cannot be breathless. So you can take for granted that this exercise gave you no benefit at all, zero benefit. Little or no minimal effect on calorie burn, no effect on fat loss, no effect on muscle strengthening, does not improve endurance. So we're all fooling ourselves if we think a lot of people will go for a joint walk. They'll be chatting and walking, which you find in the communities every day. Complete waste of time. You can just sit and watch TV instead. I'm sorry, I'm being very thing about it, but you got to understand this concept. So walking as an exercise is good only for those over 65. So we have to do at least very, very brisk walking. No talking on the phone, no talking to somebody who's walking with you. You have to get breathless. Remember, fat will be eliminated by the body by CO2. You have to breathe it out. It doesn't go in your urine. You have to breathe it out. So unless you get breathless, you are not burning any fat. Okay. So this type of thing, looking in your WhatsApp and walking or talking on the phone, it's a complete waste of time. Don't bother doing it. So you must get at least slightly short of birth. So all these, the things are all available. You can look it up when you start burning. So for 50-year-old, at least you must reach a heart rate of 105 for the exercise to be useful. So if you're doing some work in the morning, I'm doing surgery, I'm burning calories. No, you're not burning any calories. So what are the implications of steady state? Now we have crossed, now we've gone into steady state exercise, which is 120 plus for 50-year-olds. So it's excellent for building stamina and endurance. So we must all build stamina and endurance. So, but it's poor in fat burning. And it does not recruit the type 2 phosphate. It's a very important point. So a lot of people think, okay, they're excellent, they're very fit, they're on, so they must be extremely fit. Sorry, in fact, they're very, very unfit. Okay. Now look at this, very telling pictures. So these are all, high-level international marathon runners. They have a lot of, look at their body mass. They're not recruit the type 2 fibers because they have never gone into that zone, anaerobic zone. They are examples of poor health. Their health is very poor. That's why marathon will die very young. Marathon runners. Their examples are very. So although if your muscle is like that, your heart muscle is also like this. It is not strong. It is the same type of muscle the heart will also reflect on. So you can see this, how very poor physical specimen. He is a great Olympic marathon runner. Okay. So if you didn't understand type 2 fibers and you didn't recruit them in your exercise and you just did endurance training, it's okay. You build endurance, but you have not achieved any other of the other 4 goals. Okay. Absolutely important to take home this. Okay. Now, I think for us, it doesn't count, but somebody who's into running marathons, now we find they are not good thing. Recent studies shows they have a lot of cardiac disease simply because their cardiac muscle is poor shape. your peripheral muscles reflect how good or bad. So if you didn't push your body to anaerobic zone, your cardiac status is very poor. Okay. And again, it says that it is. So should everyone do weights, resisted exercise? Absolute yes. There's nobody, and only in India we think that women must not do weights because it will masculinize them. Completely wrong concept. Tell you why. So every one of us must do weights. Now I told you about rep max, rep range. So we think that going to the gym is to put on muscle and go to bodybuilding competitions. Absolutely not. Certainly not. It's like saying if you learn martial arts, you want to become an underworld gangster. No, not at all. It has got tremendous benefits, and that's how you increase your health. Okay. The only reason to do weights is bulk ups. Completely wrong concept. Yeah. So if you want to recruit type 2 fibers, you want to build muscle, you want to make yourself strong, that's the way to do it. So I will pass this. So muscle fibers will start aging. We all tend to become sarcopenic with age. So the only way to prevent sarcopenia is by doing weights or rested exercises. Okay. Now again, great exercise will recruit your muscle to fibers, type 2 fibers. It boosts metabolism. It's a great stress buster. It'll help you in your sleep. It'll affect your metabolic. All your metabolic diseases will come down if you do this. So don't think that one of you're either male or female, that you do not need to do weights. Every single one of us here, no matter the age, you have to do weights. But the amount of weight will vary, and how efficiently you are using the weights in the rep range. That's what really matters. Now remember that as we age, we will all lose sarcopenia. We're all on this graph. And even if you don't put back muscle, the only way that we must prevent this sarcopenia is by doing weights. Okay, so if you go to Western countries, old people, they will all do weights. But here, for some reason, we not in that habit. And we think going to gym is for going to bodybuilding competitions. Nothing can be more far from the truth. Everybody must do weights. Okay, now muscle loss will occur with age, and the only way to prevent is by doing rested exercise. No other way. You can go on doing cardio. Nothing is going to prevent your sarcopenia. Now remember that a lot of people will ask me as an orthopedic surgeon, sir, should I take calcium and vitamin D to build up your bones? No, you must do resisted exercises to build up your bones, because now we know that the bone and the muscle is one unit. How do you build bone strength? By building the strength and bulk of your muscle, your bone gets stronger. And what is the collateral advantage? You will not get osteoporosis, you will not get osteoporotic falls, you will not break your neck of femur. Not medications. There's no point taking alendronate. It's completely off the ball. So you must do rested exercises, and that's the only way you can prevent sarcopenia that occurs with age. Elderly people, always will have falls and fractures, but somebody who's used to doing weights, they will not have these fractures. That's how, in our undergraduate we studied, we came into the brim of the pelvis and we left the world through the neck of the femur because of fracture. But that's not true if you're doing weights. And you're never too old to start exercising. So remember all these concepts. What weights you can go and buy, find out your rep max, how many reps you can do. You start off with the correct weight, and it is good for your heart, good for your bones, good for your muscle. Is going to the gym mandatory? No. As long as you understand the concept, there's no need to go to gym and waste money on that. There are a lot of things that you can buy at home. Don't tell me that any of us can't afford simple money like that. So it's all a concept. In this case, push-up exercise, you use body weight as a resistance. As long as you use resistance, you will go into anaerobic metabolism, or you will go into anaerobic zone. Then you will find that your muscle gets strong. Now, if you need more weight, you can use a simple school backpack, put some books in it, and you get this exercise. So simple you can do at home, and this is a burpee, all that. So next we come to mobility. So we talked about how to increase your endurance. We talked about muscle bulk, but remember 4 components to it. Yeah, never forget your mobility. The main reason why most people feel lethargic is because their mobility is poor. Now somebody is lethargic, their mobility is poor. So 3 indices here. So tomorrow I want you to go home and tomorrow try these 3 indices. you're not able to touch your toes, the finger. That means your lethargy, your mobility is very poor. You're not able to stretch your arms without arching your spine. Your mobility is poor. You're not able to do a deep squat. Your mobility is poor. And there's no excuse for any one of us, no matter what the age, not to do these three things. That means your mobility is very poor. But if any of us were able to do these things, doesn't mean that we can't improve on it. There's always what's called progression. So you can keep progressing. You can keep progressing on anything that you do. There are all this you can look up in the net and do progression for any mobility exercise. So anything that you like yoga, you like martial arts, you like aesthetics, you like Pilates, whatever it is, do something. The biggest advantage of mobility exercise, if once it's enough. So if you do for 10 minutes in the morning, that's more than enough. You don't need to do any reps. Mobility exercise is not reps. Okay, so 10 minutes morning, you got your workout plan. So that is done. So 15 minutes morning, doing reps is the biggest advantage. So this is a typical HIIT program. I will not go into it because we're getting late. So initially, suppose you're going to do is a work and a recovery ratio. You do one, for example, 15 seconds work, 45 seconds recovery. So it's 3 times that. That's how you start off, and then you keep on improving it. And once you start doing HIIT, your fat will burn like magic. Your fat will just get burnt off. And your we have our apps both in Google Play as well as in Apple. It'll tell you your work phase over, you're going to recovery phase. And again, work phase, recovery phase. You said it. All your phones have, smartphones have that. So use all this very intelligently. Only thing, before a HIIT program, you must warm up and you must warm down. Now look at these people. They're all professional athletes, but they're all examples of very poor health. Why? Because they have neglected one or more component of the 4 essential components. Once you start neglecting this man, it's a very poor example. He's got no type 2 fibers. All this amount, all are unhealthy specimens. But if you take sport like basketball, football, tennis, they're good. They're all very fit people because all 4 components are present in these sports. So they're all very good examples of getting into fitness. So in summary, what is the best type of info that you can get? I start off by saying actionable info. So any program will succeed only with rewards. So you must have your body weight, waist circumference, resting heart rate, your exercise heart rate. Once you find you're making improvements on this, you will love it. You'll become an advocate. You will start telling others about it. So don't tell me any one of us cannot afford all this. So simple equipment to buy at home, but you must have it because you have to monitor your progress. And then you will be addicted to this. You suddenly get addicted to exercises. You review it 4 months and you will become an advocate yourself. So thank you for your attention.
Wonderful talk, Dr. Bose. Really absorbed by your, your lecture. In fact, you know that I'm a fitness freak. I've been doing exercise for the past 20 years and not a day has gone without me doing exercise. What I do is I play badminton for maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes and then I do my gym for 40 minutes. So I think it's a combination, which you said, all the 4 components should be there. Fantastic carry home message. Now what we are going to do is, we are 10:15 now. We will try to unmute a few people who want to ask questions and then we will take questions. First of all, this is the best talk which we have listened to in our lockdown. Let me put it on the record because it's a game changer for me. At least diet-wise, I will change now for sure. So there are very few talks which change our life and this is one talk which has changed my life. So thank you, Dr. Bose, for your excellent talk. Let us now start with Dr. Prakash Munka. Is he there, Dr. Prakash Munka? He's been asking a lot of questions. Dr. Prakash, yes, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I am here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Excellent talk, Dr. Bose. Some of the concepts like people say to lose weight, easier said than done. So probably you gave some tips. I wanted a very specific one because diet is something which everybody can practice. So can you tell some dietary thing like I picked up no breakfast, only tea and coffee in the morning. Most of us are used to having a morning tea in our daily routine. And we do advise that you should take along with tea some biscuit, rusk or something so that you don't get hyperacidity. So start with the bed tea. I don't take breakfast. I skip since last so many years. I take a small piece of curd and with the curd and I go to my office. At around 1 I get a lunch, which you suggested some improvement, which I will do. but in a systematic manner, if you can, sir, suggest something for losing weight about the diet chart.
Yeah, I think I summarized this. So if you take your rusk in the morning, you have broken your fast. You have told your body,
Yeah.
I'm going to break my fast and now I'm going to go into the energy conserving mode. So that is a wrong thing. So our South Indian, very milky coffee or tea is again a big no-no. It is not the amount of calories in the milk I'm talking about. It is the signal that milk is giving to your body saying, I'm breaking my fast. From now on, I have to go into energy saving mode. So all your skipping breakfast has been futile, I must say. Your own example, yeah. So you must not do that. So you can have black tea. You can have a drop of milk probably if you are used to that. But certainly not a milky coffee or tea. That will defeat the purpose. Because your body has been signaled to stop burning calories. Now remember, 12 hours the minimum fast I said. Okay. Now if you 13 hour is good. 14 hour is far better than the gains that you made during the first hour. You make double the gains. You go to 14 hour fast, 15 hour fast. I personally do a 16 hour, 17 hour fast. So the gains that you make is exponential. So you understand this concept that you must not signal the body to break the fast. And then your hyperacidity is all myths. It's all myths. Once you are in a thing and your body burns its fat, then all this hyperacidity, everything goes away. It completely goes away. It's not there anymore. I know so many personal examples who are told this hyperacidity problem. But when they started fasting properly, what the mistake you're doing is eating that rusk in the morning and having a milky tea. But if you skip that, it'll be difficult for you for a week.
Yeah.
But once you start burning,
it is very easy to improve upon. Yes, sir.
And then you will find that your hyperacidity goes off. You know your ranitidine and all. Now they know it's got a lot of side effects. Now we were giving patients ranitidine for years together. Now we know it's got serious problems. So anything that is pharmaceutical, taken in a chronic form, is very bad. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that.
Okay. What about lunch, sir?
No, as I told you, if you can, once you start this fasting, frankly, many of the people that I know will go straight to a dinner. They will not even have lunch. You'd think they'd be, energyless. They're brimming with energy all the time. Now, I personally, I can do that very easily. I can easily go to, dinner by skipping lunch as well. But I don't do that because I will go down on my calories. I'll become calorie deficit. So I want to eat because look at the paradox. In contrast to, I want to eat more now because for my calorie deficit. And that's the reason why I have lunch.
So what you suggest that morning we take only black tea and no...
Yes. I don't know whether you're listening to that. Then you have to break your fast at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock with the vegetables or omelette or something.
In the lunch, as you said, only what is small amount of what you said, yogurt and...
No, I didn't say that. I said you can eat the large amounts of everything except carbs. You can have a lot of pulses, a lot of dal. You can have, all those you can have. You can have unlimited vegetables. You can have fruits. You can have a rice also I have. But, it has to be as unprocessed as possible. Green, brown rice or red rice. Then you can have everything that you want. As long as you're not having processed food. That's the main thing. You're not having processed food at all. Zero processed food. And then you're cutting down your carbs. That's clean eating. That's clean eating. That's all there is need to do. And you never feel hungry. Have a lot of ghee. I had a good meal. Very important in a long-term diet plan.
Yeah, perfect. I think, fantastic answers and also the question. Thank you. Let us move on. If somebody has got questions, you can raise your hand. Or else
Hi, Anupama here.
Hi, Anu. Carry on. You can ask your questions to
Can I? Yeah, I joined it a bit late. I just want to ask about this myth about hydroxychloroquine, arrhythmias, and exercise. How true is it? Was it discussed?
No, it wasn't. I think a very controversial topic. I think everybody is very knowledgeable than me on hydroxychloroquine. But one thing I'd like to tell you, as orthopedic surgeons, we use hydroxychloroquine very commonly for all our chronic inflammatory arthritis, not these, there's a rheumatoid and the variants we use, and we have not had a problem in anything else. So you must not overdose yourself. Otherwise, I think it's a very safe molecule to use.
And also, sir, what about beta blockers and exercise intolerance?
Well, I'm not an expert in cardiology part of it, but so maybe any cardiologist here can take that on. I won't be able to give a very learned answer on beta blockers because I never prescribe anybody beta blockers.
Yeah, I think we have Natarajan here. Natarajan is here. I'm not able to see him. Okay, he was there, I think. He was a cardiologist who was actually watching our lecture, but I can't find him now.
And can I have one more question?
Yeah, sure. Please carry on.
Yeah, so I was listening to the whole thing. Wonderful lecture, Dr. Bose. As you mentioned, this sugar addiction is something that we hardly ever admit to. And to be honest, I've actually gained and lost enough weight to actually make up a small person. So I know how frustrating it is for people who are actually obese to come to terms with the sugar addiction and actually lose that weight and keep it off. But in the recent days, I've actually found as a ENT surgeon, I come across a lot of patients with obstructive sleep apnea and depression. So it's actually a vicious cycle, and it's something that as ENT surgeons we fail to address. And point number 2, what was the gut microbiome and the gut-brain axis discussed? Because I kind of joined a bit.
Yeah, he discussed about the gut microbiome.
So basically, Dr. Anupama, so 3 mechanisms: insulin resistance, pro-inflammatory food, inflammation, and then gut thing. There's 3 things that drives this chronic metabolic disorders that we have. So we must look after our gut microbiome, especially from a neurological point of view. Something very interesting. I don't know whether you, I'm sure you know about it, Dr. Anupama, that if those people who have a vagotomy never develop Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Parkinson. So that means that's the importance of the gut-brain axis. So those people who have had a vagotomy never develop Parkinson's. That's from the something to do with the gut microbiome.
What about your views on Alzheimer's being considered the type 3 diabetes?
Yes, it is. It is a type 3 diabetes. There's no question about that. So many, your sleep apnea syndrome, they said, depression, all these are lifestyle disorders. Yeah. Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes. No question about that. We're overloading with carbs and we're ending up as Alzheimer's. Absolutely. Type 3 diabetes. No question about that.
Hello, sir.
Thank you so much.
Great questions, Dr. Anu. Great questions.
Hello, sir.
Thank you. And we have Dr. Ahila Sami here. Can you unmute Ahila Sami? He's from Chennai. And can we have him? Dr. Ahila?
Janaki?
Yes, please.
Both sir, excellent lecture. I watched the whole thing. Really excellent.
Thank you.
No questions. You can move on, Janaki.
Okay, so we have anybody else who wants to ask questions?
Good evening. Good evening, sir. Excellent talk. I am Sunita Shukla from Mumbai.
Hi, Dr. Sunita. How are you?
Hi, sir. I am good. So, 2 quick questions.
Yeah.
What is the best time to do HIIT when you are intermittent fasting? And second is, what are the fasting fluids which are allowed in that 12-hour or 16-hour break? And is buttermilk a fasting fluid?
The second question first, buttermilk is not a thing. So 3 things are allowed. Black coffee, black tea, green tea, and soup broth. So you can boil vegetables or something and take the vegetables off. That broth is allowed. So those are the only things that are allowed. Water are allowed in, so you must not underdo the fluids. That's the only things that are allowed. So buttermilk, milk, Coke are all absolutely things that you must not take on your fast. And then you asked about HIIT program. HIIT program can be done based on your routine in the fasting state. If you do in the fasting, your fat burn will get absolutely, will dissolve like butter if you do in the fasting. But if you want to do it in the evening, that's also good because you have that EPOC as well. So any time of the day, whatever convenience, these are all not ground rules. As long as you fit into your schedule, we are not professional sportsmen to do, morning 7, 9 like that. We have to fit everything into our schedule. So whatever time of the day you do, great, absolutely great.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, one question, Janaki, Bose sir. I am Dr. Ailasamy. One thing is, if you are cross 45 or 50, you should not do more jogging or anything that may be injurious to the joint. But you told after 65 only you can do walking. Till that time you can do jogging and everything. Your take on that, sir?
Absolutely wrong concepts, yeah. So they say that, you should not sit on the floor. And I mean, orthopedic surgeons giving this advice day in and day. You should not climb steps. And our elder generation were very healthy because they were doing all those things. Simple thing like using an Indian toilet kept us so flexible. There's a deep squat that we are doing. We have all moved to Western toilets. We have lost the ability to do a deep squat. It's a very important function of our body, a deep squat. And many things that we usually eat by sitting on the floor by crossed legs. Great mobility exercise. So our ancestors had everything right, they have everything wrong. So you sit is a great flexibility exercise, sitting on the floor and eating. And they say don't climb steps and all that. You must climb steps. I'm talking about knee arthritic patients. Knee arthritic patients must walk. The people say don't walk. You must walk. Then only you will flush all the cytokines away. Now coming to jogging, we have good shoes and jogging. Absolutely no problem at all. You can jog. Everyone can jog. Let's not confuse. They're all wrong advice. The only thing is treadmill is a little dangerous because it's a repetitive injury. So, but other than jogging on outside, nature is absolutely healthy for you, sunlight. So please don't get all these wrong concepts.
Thank you.
We have Shakib Khan. Shakib Khan.
Yes, good evening, sir. That was a wonderful presentation. Two general questions and one specific question. The general question is, how true is the fact, or rather the claim, that anything non-vegetarian is pro-inflammatory? And that B is that raw foods or anything that you cook reduces the nutrients as compared to raw foods?
Yes, so the anything you cook does decrease the nutrients, but we cannot go back to hunter-gatherer lifestyle. So the general principle: the less you cook, sauteed vegetables are better, but don't overdo any of these. Don't live like a hermit. You will give that very soon. Yeah, so don't do all the extreme things. Yeah, they're used to cooked food. That's fine. Bring in the changes slowly. And then sauteed vegetables better. Suddenly cooking takes away the nutrients. Yeah. Now coming to non-veg food. The main reason why they say there is this thing on Netflix, what's it called? Game Changers, I think, yeah. Non-veg food is very bad. It is because of the processing of non-veg food. They put all sorts of vitamins, not vitamins, steroids and things into the animals, okay? So remember that the primitive man, main food was animals. So non-vegan by itself is not bad. But the present type of non-vegan food that we get, which is all sorts of chemicals given to the animals.
Broccoli.
And that's why we get all the side effects. So look for a good source of, if you're going to eat non-vegetarian, look for a good source of non-vegetarian that you can source. And that is the key to non-vegetarian food. All the bad effects told is because of our humans spoiling what was a good natural food. Animal protein is a good natural food. As I keep telling you, natural is good.
Okay, so
very nicely answered. Very nice
question, sir. It's regarding exercise. If I lift heavy weights, then I get a crackling noise, particularly in my elbow and shoulder joints, but there's no pain or any symptom. So what does it indicate? Should I continue or should I reduce the weights?
So as a general rule, crackling noise without pain can be ignored in any joint. It has got no significance whatsoever, so you can continue the exercise. Only noise with pain is significant, as any orthopedic surgeon will tell you. So please continue. Absolutely okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Shakib Khan. Wonderful. We ask Dr. Vidyasagar now. Vidyasagar is there?
Hi, sir.
Hi, Vidya.
Fantastic spellbound.
Hey,
it is a spellbound, as you said. It
your
is.
Voice is breaking, boss. Your voice is breaking. Vidya, your voice is breaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about now?
Yeah, perfect. Now it's fine.
How about now, sir?
Yeah, perfect. Carry on.
Yeah. So it is the talk of the lockdown, I would say. I totally agree with you. It covered all the aspects. Fantastic. Thank you for doing that. My question is like, it's okay to take groundnut oil. Can we use a reused groundnut oil? That is, it is already used for frying. Can it be reused? Will that make it unpalatable? That is number one. Number two is, what about the millets? Is the millet diet okay, or still it is considered as a high carb diet?
Right.
Hello.
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So any oil that you heat becomes a chemical process. So it brings in changes in the oil, and it will increase the trans fat more in unsaturated oils than in saturated oil. So any oil must not be used again. But again, I can understand the economic issue of it. But remember that in hotels and roadside restaurants, they'll be using it 10 times. We're eating a thing of trans fat. Very, very bad. And that's the reason why we say street food is bad, not for the bacteria or anything like that. Yeah. So that is reheating oil as a general rule is, millets again is a natural thing, and it is a low glycemic index. So you cannot take a high load of that as a main constituent, but little bit of millets is absolutely fine. So you must, the proportion is that fine. Great to have millets.
And being a vegetarian without eating eggs and paneer, any tips or any ideas? What is the source of fat?
Yes, that's going to be tough. If you don't take paneer and eggs, it's going to be tough to go into a low carb diet. I don't have any ready answers for that, but it is be paneer centric. But you can have vegetables and all that, but it's going to be a difficult proportion, I must say. With the eggs, you can manage very nicely. A low carb diet with eggs can be managed very nicely, but without eggs also and without paneer also, it's going to be tough to be on a low carb unless you take so much effort into buying a lot of fancy vegetables and things and cooking like that. It won't suit a day to day. But there are people who live like that, vegans and all, but their focus on the whole day is on that diet. You can live like that. Not that you cannot live, but for us, we have a lot of commitments, and food is not the main business of the day. It's going to be tough for you.
So
and
you're
the last
talking about
question,
the source
sorry,
of protein, right?
is the
Protein, right?
protein.
Vidya, when
Yes,
you're
sir.
vegan without egg, you're talking about protein, right? Protein intake.
Protein.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Carry on.
And is the whey protein? Is it a processed food? Is it okay to take, or is it reliable to take them, or no? It is not. The commercially available whey protein.
It is a very high rich source of protein, so it is an important constituent for bodybuilders and that. But generally, if you're not, so they need a large, especially you are in the mid-rep range and you want to build up, and that's a very protein concentrate. But generally, for you and me, we are not interested in going to bodybuilding competitions. It's not required. Not required unless you have some kind of metabolic problem. We're not able to do protein absorption, things like that. Then we use in our practice, but not for a normal individual.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr.
Vidya.
Janaki.
Fantastic questions. I think we will take one person last and we will close this. Razia is here. She's our classmate. Razia, are you there? Razia, can you unmute yourself, please? Dr. Razia.
Sir, can I ask a question meanwhile?
Yeah, sure. Sri Harsha, it's all yours.
Sir, what about this new concept called brown rice and white rice?
That's what I said, so the more unprocessed. So brown rice is more unprocessed than white polished rice. Red rice also like that. So the more unpolished carbs you have, it's better. Okay, so as I said, carbs also needed. I told you 30% of your brain, your RBCs, your renal medulla needs carbs. So your diet must have carbs. The only problem with this is we're eating 90% carbs. That was the problem. So 30% of your food has to come from carbs. And the more unrefined and the high glycemic index it has, low glycemic index it has, it's better for you. So brown rice, red rice has got low glycemic index. So you must take carbs in your food. Don't eliminate carbs fully. That's not what we are just saying. Your proportion of carbs. Tomorrow you will calculate what's your regular diet. You are overeating your carbs and killing your liver.
Razia is there, Dr. Razia?
Unmuted.
Hi, Bose.
Dr.
Excellent
Razia.
talk.
Hi, Razia.
Hi, excellent talks. You're so passionate, and I'm going to follow a lot of the things that you said. It was really, really
Great.
good. The TRE, I try to do TRE, but nothing like you will persevere. And exercise also, like more weightlifting and all that. It's really good. Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Razia. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, so
And all of our classmates should hear this.
yeah, Dr. Shashikala is there. Shashikala, famous singer. She's there. Can you unmute Shashikala?
Yeah.
Shashikala?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Dr. Shashikala, please come over.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jankiram, for this. And thank you, Bose. That was lovely. And I think Bose knows that I had also started following this from last May, and I've managed to keep my diabetes off. I was in a pre-diabetic state, and my sugar has been normal since then. So, and all that you said was so useful, and it's lovely meeting you guys. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. So happy to know that your diabetes has been reversed. Fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think it's already late. I'm sure that everybody has to go and practice what Dr. Bose has talked to us so far. And I'm sure that we will meet him next year and we will tell what the results are. I personally want to do that. So
I think it's very important. I think very important. All of you must do all these parameters, and next year you must all report your parameters. Yeah.
That's right. So there's no point in just hearing a talk and just saying bye-bye and go back to your stage one. So we'll have to change after this talk. That's the idea of any talk for that matter. And Bose, I think, has conveyed the points very clearly, straight on from his heart to our hearts. And I'm sure that everybody will change their lifestyle of eating habits, fitness, and things like that. Thank you very much, Dr. Bose. It's really a pleasure. You spared around 2.5 hours for us in your busy schedule. Of course, during the corona, we took advantage of your, I think, free time. So thank you very much, and pleasure and honor to be in front of you.
Thanks so much, Janaki, for putting this together. My first talk to ENT surgeons, and I think it's a great bunch, very enthusiastic people. And I'm sure there's some lifestyle disease in ENT also. You just have to find it out. It's been a great honor and pleasure for me to present in this forum. And thanks for our classmates for joining. A real pleasure indeed. And as I said, you must do all these parameters and meet again next year. Thanks very much, Janaki Rama.
Thank you, Bose. See you all. Bye-bye. Good night. Stay fit. Okay. Bye-bye.